Trending topics. I hope everyone's doing well. Come on in, like the video, like the video. We're going to talk hot topics, trending topics. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. Thanks for all your love, your support, for liking and supporting the channel. I do see that a lot of people are subscribing. I appreciate that. We are trying to get to 50K by next month. That is an average of me seeking almost 100, if not more, a day in 50K is a huge goal for me, and I just want to meet that goal. So I hope everyone's doing well. Let me go ahead and get to my disclaimer, and then we're going to get to the video. Let's talk about Media 21. Okay, so come on in, like the video. Thanks for being here, everyone. I appreciate you all. I do, I do, I do. Who will be the first to chime in? Who will be the first to chime in? Thanks for being here, everyone. Let me go ahead and get through my disclaimer. Thanks for being here. Copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged in our opinion and for entertainment purposes only. Sorry about that. Okay. There we go. Thanks for being here, everyone. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. We're going to get straight into the hot topics, trending topics, what's going on around the world. We're definitely going to do a few hot topics, trending topics. That's what's going on. A lot of people are not happy in regards to not having the list, finding the list. There's so many different distractions. What's happening? Why can't people be open and honest with the American people? What's really going on? So we're going to go into, what everyone's been talking about, but like the videos, y'all coming in, and then we'll kind of go from there. Thanks for subscribing, everyone.
Control of Washington, D.C. In recent days, he's floated deploying the National Guard to parts of the city and mused about taking over the district's law enforcement. As early as tomorrow, residents might see an increase in federal enforcement, according to a White House official. Trump has been fascinated by taking over D.C. for years, and his new pretext is claiming that the Capitol is, quote, very unsafe, except violent crime in D.C. is actually down about 26% from last year.
As a native Washingtonian and who has family who still live here in the city, I'm just kind of sick of this. I'm sick of people who come to this town.
Good morning.
Who think, they can just sort of do whatever they want, strip away the rights of the citizens who, by the way, do not have the same rights as every other American when it comes to their representation in the Congress. And now you have this president who has been part of the problem in many respects, if we go back to Lafayette Park in the 24 campaign, in sort of fomenting and creating instances that can be troubling to the residents of this town. So, to all you wannabes who want to think you can control DC, just shut the hell up. Just take a step back. Or maybe you should just go walk through neighborhoods and understand how people actually live and raise their families here. Yes, the president can control the city, Alicia. He can federalize. It is a federal city. There's no doubt about it. Big debate on that. But this idea that, we now need you to come in like some plantation owner and crack down on people who live in this city, back the hell up, President Trump.
I had not realized, Michael, how recent of a conversation this was, that the Home Rule Act only went into place in 1973, allowing D.C. to elect their own mayor. And I had also not realized that back in February, you had Senator Mike Lee and Representative Andy Ogles both introducing legislation to renege on that. So there has been a foundation that has been set here by congressional Republicans, at least, that the president is now doubling down on. Well, no, I think that's what should be most upsetting. Yes, this is about D.C., it's about D.C. residents, it's about their rights, but it's an executive power grab. And it's Donald Trump just trying to take as much as he possibly can into the powers of the presidency. And it's not like we're going to go back if he actually does take this power. It's very hard for history teaches us to, for those kind of things to ever be reclaimed. And so as we watch Trump in so many areas,
Good morning.
Unconstitutional power grab, I think this is really front and center of the battle.
Right, Michael, I think it's easy to see this as a DC thing when this is part of the DOJ purge, this is part of the FBI purge, this is part of Gabbard overruling. I mean, this is that he can take a plane.
It is. I mean, I get all of that. It is, but it is a DC thing. for the 700,000 people who live here, who now will have a federal police force on their streets for what? The mayor's done and the council's done an incredibly good job of getting crime and violent crime, especially under control in this city. And here you have this man who couldn't even run a casino, thinking somehow he's going to run D.C., and when he doesn't even know the parts of D.C. The only thing Donald Trump knows about D.C. is the White House. And we've seen what he's done to that, right? All the gold lame everywhere. I mean, this idea that you can sort of create something and replace the thing that is there is part of the problem. And it goes to the heart of what you're both talking about. For D.C. residents, that strikes very personal, particularly when you have members of Congress, the United States Senate, and now this president who don't know jack about Washington, D.C. And all they look to do is jack it up with the stupid that they bring to the conversation. But that's just me.
Wow. Okay, like the video. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. I thank you all for being here and supporting the channel. Please like the video as you guys come in, just double tapping the screen, and also subscribe. Let's get straight to the next video. Thanks for being here, everyone. I appreciate you all.
Despite Trump's claims, what he's doing to Washington, D.C. is not about crime, obviously. It never has been. It's not about it in any of these cities. I mean, just listen to Trump's hand-picked U.S. Attorney for D.C., Jeanine Pirro, when she was asked whether there was any plan to address the underlying causes of criminal behavior.
So what about preventative? Do you or the president plan to do anything to address the root causes of crime in D.C., such as truancy?
My job is to try to heal the victims and prosecute the criminal. Everybody else can deal with rehabilitating the individual. I honestly am not concerned about why they commit crimes. My concern is if they commit crimes.
I mean, first of all, why does she look so surprised by the question? It's a very obvious question for someone to ask her. But more importantly, she's not concerned with why people commit crimes, not concerned with addressing the actual root of the problem. She just wants to know how many people she can lock up. Maybe she's looking for a quota of some sort. That sounds familiar. It's because it's the same approach this administration has taken with other issues, like, say, immigration. I mean, I don't think anyone thinks that Stephen Miller has ever really thought about why people come to this country or what conditions they may be fleeing from when they come to this country. He's clearly thinking a whole lot about locking up and deporting as many of them as possible. He's even pushed ICE to meet arbitrary quotas so the administration could show off their big arrest numbers and call everyone they arrest a criminal, even if they're not. The majority of them are not. It was those policies that led to widespread and largely peaceful protests against Trump's policies in Los Angeles. And that in turn led to Trump lashing out and sending armed troops to roam the streets of
Like the video, like the video. Continue to subscribe, and thank you. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
different major American city. I mean, remember Trump sent 4,000 National Guard troops to LA and another 700 Marines. He spent a whopping $134 million of taxpayer money on that spectacle. And what does he have to show for it? I mean, the people of Los Angeles are still protesting his immigration policies, despite Trump's attempt to terrorize their city. The California National Guard has seen a severe drop in morale, with some worry they may face lower recruitment because of all of this. And instead of focusing on crime, lawyers for Trump's Justice Department are spending this week in federal court trying to defend their military takeover of Los Angeles. It's hard to look at any of that and call it a big win for the Trump administration. That didn't stop them from attempting to do it all over again, this time in the nation's capital, where his pretext for doing it is, you could argue, might even be weaker. I mean, there is crime in D.C., just like any city. But violent crime is down 26% in D.C. since this time last year. Robberies are down 28%. And if Trump really cared about preventing crime, he would not have cut the staff of the Department of Homeland Security's Violence Prevention Office by 20%. He would not have announced plans to cut $64 million in security funding for New York City. He wouldn't have cut $158 million from a program to prevent gun violence in American cities. And there's many more. Just some examples. I mean, just listen to how D.C. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, I know her again, but she says a lot of things, responded when asked specifically about that just today.
I want you to report on.
But you said it's guns. You said it's guns on the street that's causing this problem. Are you concerned that the DOJ's funding cuts to gun violence prevention programs undermine the efforts?
We are putting all kinds of resources onto the street.
But what about the gun aspect of the gun violence?
Thanks.
She was not happy.
I mean, I guess Jeanine Pirro doesn't want to talk about the role guns play in gun violence, which they play a very big, significant role. And she definitely doesn't want to talk about the role that Trump's cuts play in letting that violence go unchecked. Look, I'm not saying that any of these programs alone are key to ending violent crime in America or in any individual city, but there are real solutions out there.
Like the video as y'all come in. Like the video as y'all come in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. You guys, there's about 118 in the building. Continue to hit the like button to support the channel. That's double tapping the screen. Let's get the likes up so we can continue with the show. Please hit the like. Double tap the screen. Let's get the likes up. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for supporting the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Shared a close social circle for nearly 2 decades, from private jet flights to high-profile parties, and that's only part of the story. Photos, flight logs, and court records help reveal how long their personal history really was. K-Files Andrew Kaczynski is here with all of that, and it is some extensive research and reporting that you all did. You chronicled this relationship between Trump and Epstein from the 80s to, mid-2000s is obviously when their contact probably cut off. What's the most striking thing that you find that kind of contradicts this? Donald Trump is no fan of Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, so what we found, it really actually paints a portrait, starting, as you said, in the 1980s up to the mid-2000s. It paints this portrait of a long, enduring friendship. I think there were several associates who have called them best friends. Epstein himself said that he was Donald Trump's closest friend for 10 years. And we looked through these hundreds of hours of video, hundreds of photos. We went through documents from court files, exhibits from lawsuits. So we really chronicled this whole relationship through time. And one thing that I found really interesting was these flight logs from Epstein's private jet, which were part of that investigation into Ghislaine Maxwell. And they really tell you a story of how close these guys are. Look at just...
I told y'all they should look at those flight logs and people should break that down. I told y'all. Let's continue. Fair use. Reaction clip.
A few of them. This is in 1993, for instance. This is the same year that we found as well that Jeffrey Epstein attended Donald Trump's wedding to Marla Maples. Trump flew on that plane 4 times with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell between Palm Beach, where Mar-a-Lago is, and where Epstein also owns a home. Let's fast forward then to 1994. Trump flew from Palm Beach to Washington, D.C. with his then wife, Marla Maples, his daughter, Tiffany, and a nanny before they returned to New Jersey that day. In August 1995, just he and Eric were on board with Epstein and Maxwell again. They flew from Palm Beach to Teterboro in New Jersey. And then in January 1997, Trump flew with the pair from Palm Beach to Newark, New Jersey. All of these trips, 8 in total, were documented in logs that I mentioned were from that trial.
You also took a look at Donald Trump himself has said about Jeffrey Epstein. What did you find?
Yeah, that's right. And one of the things that's always been so striking is that quote that he said in 2002 that we found in the New York Magazine article where he said he was a terrific guy, he liked beautiful women just like him. And then that quote where he says he likes many of them on the younger side. That was from an article entitled Jeffrey Epstein, International Money Mystery in New York Magazine. Now, just 2 years later, we were going through Donald Trump's book. He had one called How to Get Rich. And then he wrote in his book that somebody named the mysterious Jeffrey had called him, and then you could see it right there. That's the passage from his book. He says Jeffrey calls him, but there's actually a lot of activity between these two in 2004. One of the things that was seized from Jeffrey Epstein's home during that initial investigation to him in the mid-2000s were message pads, and on those message pads there were 2, if you look here, 2 messages from Donald Trump in November of 2004. This is around the time the two of them actually were competing to buy a property in West Palm Beach. Trump ultimately won out, beat Epstein, and this is allegedly part of what made their relationship deteriorate.
Yeah, Donald Trump talked about that as well. Your review also, you looked also through tons of photos and tons of video of Trump and Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell together, from Mar-a-Lago to here in Manhattan. Walk us through kind of some of those moments that you found.
Yeah, Kate, and these images, they really speak for themselves. In November 1982, there's an image that a lot of people have seen, and it's of Trump and Epstein, and they're dancing there. You can see with models. I think you can see Ghislaine Maxwell in the background if you look. She was there just a second ago. Just a year later, we had found, or previously, Epstein was at Trump's wedding in 1993. That's the photo there on the left. 1997, you can see in that photo on the right, that's them at a Victoria's Secret Angels event. And then
there's about 181 in the building. If I can please get 181 people to please subscribe. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. Please hit the subscribe button. Let's continue to get the likes up, everyone. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. Please double tap the screen to get the likes up, everyone. Thank you. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
1999. This that I found in some archives shows Trump and Epstein, and they're actually chatting at a Victoria's Secret fashion show in 1997. He was also photographed with Maxwell at a fashion show. These guys attended a lot of fashion shows together, it looks like. And then in February of 2000, there was an event in Mar-a-Lago that featured not only Trump, Epstein, and Maxwell, but also Prince Andrew was also at this event, and these images were initially published in the Palm Beach Post in
Allegedly
2000. So there's a lot of public appearances, and it definitely undercuts Trump's claim that he was not a fan and they were sort of just distant acquaintances.
So
what if I told you that
like the video, like the video, like the video. There's about 163 in the building. If I can please get 163 people to hit subscribe, and thank you. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
So what is the president saying about this?
So we reached out to the White House. We asked them about all of this, and it's on CNN.com. If you read the timeline, it's very extensive. They didn't respond to any of the detailed questions that we sent, but Stephen Chung, who is the communications director for the sent along a statement, said, quote, "The fact is that the president kicked him out of his club for being a creep." So it's going to be interesting to see, because he says they weren't close. He says he was not a fan, but we continue to just see more and more revelations come out.
Yeah, and we've heard that similar statement from Stephen Chung many times about questions that linger. It's great to see you. Great reporting as always. Thanks, David. A key figure in the Epstein case, who later worked for President Trump, could soon be called to testify under oath. Alex Acosta was the prosecutor who infamously gave Jeffrey Epstein a sweetheart deal in 2008, a deal that allowed Epstein to serve minimal time in prison, and a deal that shut down the investigation into his alleged sex trafficking ring. Acosta then went on to serve as Trump's first-term labor secretary. For reasons unknown, Acosta, the man who would know everything about the Epstein case, was left off the House Oversight Committee's list of subpoenaed witnesses. But tonight, a Republican on that committee, Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, is telling the Palm Beach Post that calling Acosta to testify is not, quote, off the table. She also says at any time he can be called to testify. I'm going to speak to the top Democrat on that committee in a moment about plans to subpoena Acosta, because even though dozens of victims had come forward at that point, Acosta, as I mentioned, let Epstein off easy, allowed him to plead guilty to just 2 prostitution-related charges. Epstein served only 13 months in a county jail and was allowed to leave the jail nearly every day for 12 hours. The Department of Justice review later found that Acosta exercised poor judgment in the case, although he continued to defend his actions years after the case was closed.
There was value to getting a guilty plea. You can always look at a play after the fact and say, should it have been the safe play, or should you have gone for the big score?
This comes as President Trump is, many think, trying to change the subject from Epstein as he threatens a full-on federal takeover of Washington, D.C. But it's Trump's own party who won't let Epstein go.
The American people are sick and tired of this government holding on to all these secrets. They're sick and tired of being lied to by the intelligence community and by deep state. I hope that we don't have to wait 60, 70 years to find out what really happened when it came to Jeffrey Epstein.
Facts.
Kristen Holmes is out front at the White House for us tonight. Kristen, just as President Trump was trying to shift attention to D.C., his takeover of the police department there, members of his own party are making Epstein front and center again.
They are, Kate. And just to be clear, I mean, President Trump, the White House, they don't want to be talking about this. You talk about how he's been shifting the narrative. Of course, we've seen this happen time and time again. I think tried to get away from this story, but they were just starting to see some success in that. I mean, there's been over a month of them being on the defensive when it came to the Epstein story. And I was actually told that they were starting to circulate some of our polling that we put on air of how the searches for the Epstein case had dropped down, and they were sending that amongst themselves to try and show that there was no reason to insert this into the narrative again, to bring up the Epstein files and any kind of conversations about the transcripts between Blanche and Maxwell, something, of course, we had been reporting on that they were considering. And now you have Republicans.
Like the video, like the video. There's about 125 in the building. Can I please get 125 people to hit the subscribe button, and thank you. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. Continue to hit the like button, everyone. Thank you for being here. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Themselves coming out and saying, why don't we know more? Talking about subpoenaing Alex Acosta, and even the vice president himself over the weekend in an interview bringing up Epstein again. I mean, most of the people who responded to that interview responded with release the Epstein files. So they're having a hard time actually getting away from this story, but I can tell you they want nothing to do with this. And the hope is that, of course, with this DC takeover, with the federalization, with the fact that they are so focused on that, and then moving into the Putin-Trump summit at the end of the week, that they can try again to move away from the story. We'll see how successful they are.
I don't think it's going away. People are talking about it more and more and more. And is the DC thing a distraction? Like the videos, y'all guys come in. There's about 128 in the building. If you've hit, thank you. There's Anonymous. Good morning. Thank you. Now she can focus on you guys hitting that like button. Let's get the likes up so we can get to the next video clip. There's about 173 in the building. Does everyone know where the like button is? All you have to do if you're watching from a tablet or phone, please double tap the screen. If you're watching from a tablet or a phone, double tap the screen so we get to the next video. Hit the like button or hit the thumbs up above the video, below the video. There's 28 likes. There's 224. The likes should match the views. Yes, double tap, double tap. The likes should match the views. There's about 206 in the building. Can I get 266 people to just double tap that screen? It takes 30 seconds. Less than that, 5 seconds. Let's get to the next clip. Don't forget, there's 206 in the building. If I can get 206 to please subscribe and thank you. Next clip. You guys ready? Let's get those likes up though. Double tap that screen, double tap that screen. Hold on, I gotta turn the volume up. Like the video, like the video.
That decision is unfortunate. Of course, we move to unseal that information.
The latest Epstein update just emerged, and it puts on full display just how panicked this White House is about how to deal with the scandal.
Another question on something that happened yesterday, but I wanted to get the White House response. A judge ruled that the grand jury transcripts in Ghislaine Maxwell's case should not be released. What's the White House response to that? And do you plan to appeal? And what do you tell President Trump supporters? We want that information, please.
We think that decision is unfortunate. Of course, we move to unseal that information because the president has said he wants to see credible evidence released. As for the appeal process, I would defer you to the Department of Justice for that.
Let me make one thing abundantly clear. The White House literally has all of the Epstein files at their disposal. If they want them released, they would simply release them. The White House does not need the grand jury testimonies because they have the summaries of all of those testimonies, as well as thousands upon thousands of additional materials on their desks right now. Any suggestion that the White House is, quote, disappointed with a judge refusing to unseal grand jury testimony is them playing pretend and feigning disappointment because they think their supporters are stupid. The truth is that the reason that the judge didn't approve the release of the grand jury testimony is because the judge wasn't authorized to do so. There are strict and specific rules as to when grand jury testimonies can be released based on grand jury secrecy rules. This situation didn't satisfy those requirements, but more importantly, Pam Bondi and Donald Trump knew that they wouldn't satisfy those requirements. The point wasn't to get anything released. The point was expressly not to get anything released. And so they embarked on this fool's errand solely to be able to say what they are saying right now, what Caroline Leavitt just said today, which is this make-believe sob story that she and the White House definitely, totally wanted transparency, but it was those evil communist Marxist Democrat judges who are clearly preventing you from seeing the truth. The whole thing is a sham. In fact, the sham is so obvious that the judge literally pointed it out in his ruling. Judge Paul Engelmeyer said, quote, a member of the public appreciating that the Maxwell grand jury materials do not contribute anything to the public knowledge might conclude that the government's motion for their unsealing was aimed not at transparency, but at diversion, aimed not at full disclosure, but at the illusion of such. I asked Mark Elias for his response to that claim. Here's what he had to say.
The judge called it straight up what happened here, which is that Donald Trump and Pam Bondi and who the hell knows who else in that administration, decided they'd try to pull fast one on the American public. They'd say we're going to move to have the grand jury transcripts released, knowing full well that those transcripts do not contain much at all, which is, by the way, not unusual in our system. Prosecutors tend to only put before the grand jury the minimum amount of information and evidence necessary to get an indictment. So they may collect, 5,000 boxes of documents, but they'll only put before the grand jury, 1 or 2 witnesses that talk about 3 or 4 of the documents. So this was always a setup, and it is great to see a federal judge calling it out as such. It's also, though, important to recognize that Donald Trump could still release the Epstein files, right? So
like the video, like the video, like the video. There's about 115 people in the building. Can I please get all 115 people to subscribe? If you've already hit subscribe, thank you. If you already hit the like button, thank you. Let's get the likes to 100. Please double tap that screen. The likes should match the views. To hit the like, it's free, free, free. Let's continue. Thank you for hitting like. Thank you.
This judge said they're not going to release the grand jury transcripts, which are subject to grand jury secrecy. And as the judge points out, in this case, we're going to be illuminating. But that wouldn't prevent the Department of Justice from releasing, I imagine, just an enormous avalanche of other materials that, that are not covered by those rules.
Hey everyone.
Good morning.
Today I'm breaking down the top 5 collagen powders.
Like the video, like the video. Fair use reaction clip. Let's continue.
Not covered by those rules.
Of which the summaries from these grand jury testimonies are included, right? And so if they really wanted transparency as it relates to these grand jury testimonies, which are just a small fraction, maybe 5%, 10% of what's included in the broader tranche of Epstein files, if they really wanted that stuff released, they already have summaries of it at their disposal, don't they?
Well, they have better than that. I mean, essentially, the way that criminal investigations work in terms of witness testimony is that FBI agents interview a lot of people, right? They interview every witness, every potential witness. They chase down leads. They collect documents, right? They are out doing the spade work of figuring out who did what to who and how and who might have seen what. And they do that. And all of those interviews get recorded. They get written up as summary interviews. Okay, so there is a summary of every interview that gets written up. You sometimes hear the term FBI 302. That's what these are called. That's the form number that these things are written up on. And ultimately, the prosecutors and the FBI agents go through all of the mountain of information that they gather in those interview summaries, and then they decide what is it that we actually need the grand jury to hear. And so sometimes they may hear a little piece from 1 or 2 witnesses who were interviewed for hours, right? They may have been interviewed for 8 hours. So there's a witness interview summary that can go on for pages upon pages upon pages. And then they'll be like, okay, well, let's just take that witness and put them in the grand jury for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or for an hour to just provide a portion of that testimony for the grand jury. Sometimes they don't even put the witness in. They'll just put the FBI agent in. Say, I conducted this investigation. I interviewed all these people, and this is basically what I found. But those raw summaries of interviews are where all of the information that you'd want to know about who is in the Epstein files, right? Because that is the FBI collecting all of the information. So when we talk about the Epstein files, one of the big tranches of information are these summaries of interviews conducted by FBI agents, written down by FBI agents, and none of that, to be clear, none of it is protected by grand jury secrecy rules. All of it is at the fingertips of Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Pam Bondi. Okay, they literally could press a button on their computer and it would just all appear. Okay, and the fact that they are not releasing those tells you everything you need to know about what's in there.
And of course, to watch more coverage between myself and Mark Elias, please make sure to subscribe to this channel. It's a great way to support our work, and it is completely free. In other words, the Trump team here is literally playing you, and it's not even a surprise. I mean, guys, we don't have to sit here and pretend that we don't know why they are bending over backwards not to release the files. It's because Trump is in them. That's it. It's not a surprise. It's not even a secret. His own attorney general told him months ago that he was in there, and as a result, they will do everything in their power to prevent the files release. This isn't about accountability for the Epstein accomplices. This is about protecting them. Trump came into office promising to expose them, and instead he is entrenching the very system that he swore to dismantle. You all believed him when he said that he would release those files, and instead you elected a guy who has the biggest vested interest in the world in ensuring that they never see the light of day. So here,
that's the biggest concern. Like the video, like the video. There's about 223 in the building. Please subscribe. Don't forget to hit subscribe. We're trying to hit 50K next month. Let's continue fair use. Reaction clip.
That's what I'm asking of you. And I don't care if you're left, right, or center. I don't care if you voted for Trump. I don't care if you didn't even show up on election day. When the Trump administration plays you for fools and pretends that they're super duper bummed that a judge wouldn't do what they always knew a judge couldn't do with regards to releasing these random grand jury transcripts, do not be fooled. They don't want accountability or transparency. They want secrecy. Remember, there is one group of human beings on Earth who could release the documents today, and they just so happen to be the same people pretending that they want transparency while refusing to lift a finger to actually give it to us. They can release the files, they should release the files, and in fact, given the subpoena issued by Congress, they will release the files. And just know that when it came time for them to be true to their word, these administration officials decided to treat you like absolute fools to your faces because that's just how stupid, dim, and gullible they thought you were. I've said it before and I'll say it again, Republicans might say that they hate Democrats, but there is no one they have more contempt for than their own voters.
That's the thing. Like the video, like the video, like the video. Thanks for being here, everyone. Let's get the likes up. We're at 42. Can I please get 100 people to double tap that screen? If you're watching from a phone, press 1. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. That means if you're or a tablet, press 1. You could easily hit the like button. Thank you. Let's get the likes up. Thank you. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Back of Vice President J.D. Vance moments ago applauding the House Oversight Committee subpoenas to former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, along with 8 others. The Oversight Committee also continuing its investigation into Joe Biden's mental fitness and the use of the auto pen during Biden's presidency. Former Biden senior advisor Anita Dunn testified last Thursday, telling the committee that Biden's inner circle came to the conclusion that he should not take a cognitive test, even though she said they all felt that, he would pass one easily. Earlier in the week, a former Biden Deputy Chief of Staff, Bruce Reed, told the committee ex-White House doctor Kevin O'Connor dismissed cognitive tests as, quote, meaningless. Joining me now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Kentucky Congressman James Comer. Mr. Chairman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, Maria.
I want to first talk about these subpoenas to Hillary and Bill Clinton. When are you expecting them to come in to testify under oath?
We've asked them to come in October. We've given them specific dates. What makes these subpoenas special and historical is that they came as a result of a bipartisan vote. The Democrats made a motion, like we knew they would, to subpoena the Epstein documents, which Republicans support. Scott Perry from Pennsylvania amended that motion to include subpoenas for both Bill and Hillary Clinton, as well as 6 former attorneys general, and the Democrats voted for it. Now they're scared and trying to say they didn't vote for it, but they did. It's on record, and that helps us in court. If the Clintons try to fight this subpoena, which we presume they will, this subpoena came as a result of a bipartisan vote, which has never happened before in the House Oversight Committee. So we're looking forward to hearing from the Clintons. The American people want to know what went on Epstein Island. We know Clinton went there many times. We just want to ask Bill Clinton what he saw when he was there and who all was involved.
Well, I mean, look, there's a lot of information to be gained from an interview under oath with Hillary and Bill Clinton, that's for sure. Would you also get into Russia collusion?
Well, we would like to ask about that. I'm sure their lawyers are going to be negotiating the terms. The subpoena was issued a few days before the Russia collusion story really broke. But certainly we're going to ask as many questions as we can ask. This is an opportunity to get the Clintons under oath. We've been trying to do for a long time. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. We'll get answers to a lot of questions that the American people have.
So you say that they're going to be fighting this. You think this is going to go through the courts?
I would be shocked if it did not go to the courts. But again, one thing that stands out is this bipartisan vote. We've never had that. I've been chairman of the House Oversight Committee for a year and a half, Maria, and I've never lost a subpoena battle. This is the toughest battle that we're facing is getting the Clintons in here. But again, that bipartisan vote, and I want to thank the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee for voting for that subpoena.
Well, I mean, look, another tough battle that you've got in front of you is getting to the bottom of President Biden's.
There's about 511 in the building. If I can please get 511 people to please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. If all 511 hit the subscribe button, it takes 2 seconds. I will hopefully hit 50K by next month. Thank you. Let's continue fair use reaction clip.
4 terms, 4 years in office. And what was going on there? I mean, it was all very simple and clear for everyone to see that he was struggling in terms of his mental capacity and this use of the auto pen. Who was running the country for the last 4 years before President Trump?
Well, it looks like a very small inner circle of no-name unelected bureaucrats. They had a tight reign over Joe Biden. They didn't allow a lot of cabinet secretaries like Pete Buttigieg to have access to Joe Biden. They certainly didn't allow the White House press corps to have access to Joe Biden. When he did come out, he was very scripted. And what we've learned is even when the American people realized after the Hur report and after the disastrous debate performance against Donald Trump that Joe Biden was in mental decline, his staff, we learned from Anita Dunn this week, made the decision not to give Joe Biden a cognitive test. Even when the American people were demanding a cognitive test, they made the decision, the ones who were running the country, the
that they were not going to give Joe Biden a cognitive test. And I think that is pretty overwhelming evidence that they feared what the results of that test would be.
So what do you think you will find out about who was running the country? I mean, after the Robert Hur interview was released, just a day or so later, we learned that Joe Biden had prostate cancer. But, you know, I've got the Kevin O'Connor medical report in front of me right now. There's no mention of any mental decline. There's no mention of any prostate cancer. Why suddenly did we learn this after the Robert Hur tapes were released?
Well, we've watched the Hur tapes, and they're a disaster. You understand watching the tapes why Robert Hur wrote that. I mean, that was scary. If Americans could watch that tape, and hopefully we can make that public, they would be concerned that this guy was president of the United States, had control of the nuclear football. But at the end of the day, with Dr. O'Connor, we deposed him. We brought him in for a deposition. He pled the fifth. We asked Dr. O'Connor, were you ever told to lie about Joe Biden's health? He couldn't answer that question. He pled the fifth to avoid self-incrimination. What we found about Dr. O'Connor is he declined doing a cognitive test. He supposedly said a cognitive test was not important, even though every president in my lifetime has taken cognitive tests. And we also believe that he supposedly did not check the president for prostate cancer. Every man over 50, including myself, I'm 52, takes a PSA test every time they get blood work done. So the story doesn't add up with respect to Dr. Connor. It reeks of a political cover-up, a cover-up of a president in declining health.
So do you think that this was an all-out effort by the Democrats to keep their grip on power, even though they knew that the leader in charge, Joe Biden, really did not have the capacity to keep going, and then they actually encouraged him to run for another term?
It looks like it, and that's what's the most shocking about this whole thing. This didn't just happen around the time of the debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. This happened, a year prior to that, and yet this small inner circle wanted to keep this man in the Oval Office, even though they knew he couldn't perform the duties of President of the United States for another 4 years. That's what's so disappointing about all of this, and what you see with the last 90 days, that's when I think the auto pen was abused the most, Maria. The last 90 days after Donald Trump wins the election, and you're in that lame duck period, they start cranking stuff through that auto pen like crazy. Pardons, thousands of pardons, executive orders, whose sole purpose of these executive orders was to Trump-proof the Trump administration, to make it harder to get federal employees to come back to work, to make it harder to eliminate agencies like the Department of Education. So that's why this investigation is important. We believe that there's a possibility that a lot of these executive orders and pardons can be declared null and void in a court of law.
So you're saying that those pardons may not be legal or legitimate?
I am saying that, Maria, and if you look at Joe, one interview he's given in post-presidency about the auto pen was with the New York Times, and he admitted to the New York Times that that he just delegated that to staff.
Wow.
Unbelievable. All right, we will leave it there. Mr. Chairman, great to see you. We'll be following you.
Like the video. There's about 292 in the building. If I can please get 292 people to please subscribe. If you already subscribed, thank you. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. Let's get to the next clip. Like the video as y'all come in, though. Please like the video as you guys come in. Hold on 1 second. Thanks for being here, everyone. Let's get to the clip. Thanks for supporting the channel, you guys. I can see the subscribers are going up. Thank you. Like the video as you guys come in.
Donald Trump has deployed the National Guard to Washington, D.C., obviously a harbinger of things to come more broadly across the nation. But I want to put a tweet from Ken Delaney from MSNBC right up here on the screen. The news out of the D.C. mayor's press conference is that her lawyers apparently do not believe they have grounds to challenge President Trump's declaration of a D.C. crime emergency. The city appears to be surrendering to a federal takeover of its police department. So first and foremost, Glenn, can you speak on the fact that a city is not able to mount a defense from a federal takeover of the U.S. government? It seems so wholly antithetical
Good morning.
the basic constitutional structure of this country. Can I just have your general reaction to what we've just read?
Brian, I didn't see that one coming. And when I say that one, I didn't think Mayor Bowser and the D.C. city government, which has fought so hard for home rule, to be able to, govern itself, and home rule has been in place now for decades. I didn't think in a million years they would just lay down and let the Trump administration walk all over them, including seizing control of the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. Those are the city cops. They work for the city of the District of Columbia, not the federal government. So I will say that sending National Guard troops into the streets of Washington, D.C., as horrific as that is, it does seem that the president has the authority to do that. He can't send troops into the 50 states
without the governor's buy-in. Of course, we know he also violated that law as well out in California, but he actually does seem to be lawfully entitled to send National Guard troops into D.C. because D.C. is not a state. It doesn't have a governor, and the prevailing wisdom in the legal authority seems to suggest that, yeah, if the president wants to activate the National Guard and send them into the streets of D.C., he can. But the really surprising part is his seizing control of the local law enforcement organization, the Metropolitan Police Department. And he has to be able to, in a straight-faced way, claim a state of emergency in order to do that. And I thought, for sure, Mayor Bowser would push back. I assumed that there were going to be motions for temporary restraining orders and preliminary injunctions being, drafted as we speak and filed probably by close of business today. And yet, according to Ken Delanian's tweet or post, that seems not to be the case. So there are certainly some takeaways. Now, Brian, that doesn't mean that the MPD's police union won't file a challenge. I don't really know how it works when one day you're working for the DC city government and your check is being cut.
Like the video, like the video. There's about 241 in the building. If I can get 241 people to please subscribe and thank you. Continue to hit the like button, everyone. The likes should match the views. As you come in and comment, please hit the like button. Double tap the screen. Hit the like above the video, thumbs up, or below the video, thumbs up. Thank you.
By the DC city government, and now you're under federal control. Does that make you a federal employee? Does that impact by whom you're paid? Does it impact your benefits? Does it impact your work assignments? I mean, all of this, I think, is a recipe for disaster. But here's another important takeaway. And when I was watching the press conference where, the director of the FBI, Patel, was boasting and bragging about how, crime is down on all fronts, violent crime is down. And yet Donald Trump in the next breath is announcing a state of emergency because crime is out of control. Right. These are the kind of things you would think would give rise to some...
Yeah, which one is it? Like the video, fair use?
Consequential legal challenges. But here's what people need to now keep in mind. Every single crime that is committed in Washington, D.C. from today moving forward is on the hands and on the head of the Trump administration. And let's face it, at this press conference, they announced crime stops today. Yeah, well, let's hold them to that and see if crime actually stops today in the District of Columbia.
Well, and of course, you must know that if crime goes down, then Trump gets credit, but if crime goes up, then Trump doesn't deserve any of the credit. That would be Joe Biden's crime.
Isn't it wonderful that we've gone from a country where a president said, the buck stops with me, to a president who says, I don't take any responsibility at all?
Yeah. Glenn, it's worth asking here, is this a capitulation by the mayor of Washington, D.C.? Do you think that it's well-founded for her not to try and seek injunctions or temporary restraining orders? I mean, what can we read into the decision not to fight this thing with the full force? Or is it just the fact that she thinks it would be a doomed effort by virtue of the fact that maybe there's not enough legal standing for her to actually fight back?
The D.C. city government has a lot of really good lawyers, and I have to believe, Brian, they made a good faith assessment of not only the evidence, but the arguments that they would make in court if they wanted to oppose Donald Trump's invocation of a state of emergency in D.C. and seize control of the local police department. And they probably decided that they don't have a strong enough argument to make, and they don't want to undertake, a failed attempt to resist, the president's federal takeover of the D.C. police force. So, I'm going to project good faith onto their decision and say it was a fact and law-based decision. But there are a couple other things that our viewers should keep in mind. The D.C. Home Rule Act, the law that governs emergency control of the D.C. police by the President of the United States, has some time limits to, the president's ability to retain control over the local police force. For example, the law says, whenever the President of the United States determines that special conditions of an emergency nature exist, which require the use of the Metropolitan Police Force for federal purposes, he may direct the mayor to provide him, and the mayor shall provide, such services of the Metropolitan Police Force as the president may deem necessary and appropriate. But Brian, during that 48-hour time period, if Donald Trump makes a written request of Congress to extend the time that he has to control the Metropolitan Police Department, the statute reads that Senate and House of Representatives must enact into law a joint resolution authorizing the extension of federal control of the local police department. So there are some legal constraints, deadlines, and requirements put on Trump's ability to retain control of MPD. Now, will Donald Trump blow right through those as well, or will he honor them? Well, we will know within 48 hours whether he's taken the first step to try to extend his control of the Metropolitan Police Department.
Like the video, fair use, reaction clip.
This is the quickest way.
Hit the like button, There's about 155 in the building.
Clear out stuck poop.
If I can get you guys to please hit that like button, it'll help. And we're trying to get to 50K. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Control of the Metropolitan Police Department.
Is this a regular law that they'll have to pass? And basically what I'm getting at here is, do we need a simple majority of the House, and then do we need to exceed the 60 vote threshold in the Senate? Because he'll get simple majorities in both houses of Congress, but he's not going to be able to get the requisite 60 votes that he needs in the Senate, because that will require a number of Democratic senators to cross over.
You know, Brian, I'm not going to claim to be an expert on this topic, but when I read that, it requires a joint resolution that is passed into law, at least the plain reading of that language seems to suggest that there is no requirement that there be 2/3 or a supermajority. It sounds like it will probably be a simple majority vote passing the resolution into law. But again, I will defer to people who know more about, political ins and outs of the workings of Congress than I do.
I mean, in theory, is this whole thing just regarding 48? Like, is he doing all of this just so that he can have control of the Metropolitan Police Department for 2 days?
If he cares about the law, that is his first deadline, right? Within 48 hours, he has to provide written notice to Congress of the reasons for the state of emergency and its continued necessity. And then these other timeframes will kick in after that, and he gets basically 30 days. So we'll see what he does within the next 48 hours.
Well, look, I actually don't think that the primary purpose of this is to tackle crime. Because, look, if he was interested in crime, he'd go to Memphis, Tennessee, right? He would go to Little Rock, Arkansas. He would go to a raft of other, St. Louis, Missouri. But he won't go there because they're red cities or red states, and it's easier for him to exert his power over Washington, D.C. But I think more broadly, this is not necessarily about quelling crime. I think that the whole point of this exercise is to normalize Americans to the idea of American troops taking over American cities right now, when there's not really anything happening, so that when we're close to an election and he needs boots on the ground to be able to carry out his plans, like seizing voting machines, which is what he tried to do back in 2020, now it won't seem as crazy because we've already gotten used to it. We've seen troops come into Los Angeles. We've seen troops get deployed into Washington, D.C. We'll certainly see troops get deployed into other American cities, as has been previewed by Trump, where he mentioned Chicago, he mentioned New York, of course, all of these blue bastions in blue states. And so when he wants to get some muscle, basically, to be able to carry out his plans, these are the people that he's going to use. And if he's able to kind of normalize us to this idea, to get us accustomed to this idea that, yeah, American troops just take over American cities, that's just how it goes, then there won't be so much pushback when he tries to do it at a moment that's more politically convenient, politically advantageous for him.
Brian, I couldn't agree with you more. I heard some reporting earlier today that D.C. doesn't even crack the top 25 most violent cities in America per capita. So no, this is not about fighting crime in D.C. It's about militarizing the streets of the United States of America, because I believe his goal will ultimately be getting enough military members deployed to the streets of America to tamp down the chaos that Donald Trump largely creates, so he can declare.
Like the video, like the video. There's about 191 in the building. Please hit subscribe and continue to hit the like button. Thank you for hitting the like button, and thank you for subscribing, you guys. I really appreciate it. Let's continue. Fair use. Reaction clip.
Martial law, invoke the Insurrection Act, in the run-up to the midterms, and then say, well, there's so much chaos that I think we're going to need to postpone the midterm elections, which will actually translate to canceling the midterm elections. I think that has been his play for a very long time. His goal is to somehow undermine the midterm elections so he doesn't run the risk of losing control of the House of Representatives. And then secondarily, Brian, I think this is also the mother of all distractions, coming on a day when a federal court judge in New York just completely tore the head off, figuratively speaking, of Donald Trump's DOJ, specifically Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, and Jay Clayton, 3 political appointees who signed off on the motion litigating the release of the grand jury transcripts in the Epstein and Maxwell cases. And the judge denied the motion and took them to task for being, among other things, false, misleading, trying to distract the American people, and giving the illusion of transparency. That is just some of the choice quotes of today's devastating, scathing ruling by a federal court judge. So this is more of an attempt to distract from, what is still the biggest scandal in America these days in the minds of the American people, particularly in the minds of the MAGA base that are clamoring for the release of the Epstein files, and that is the Trump Epstein Maxwell scandal.
Look, I think it's especially important right now as we get closer and closer to Trump really executing these plans to be clear-eyed about the threats that are in front of us. I know that we're not going to see it from legacy media. I know that they're going to continue taking their cues from Republicans, from right-wing media, and the Trump administration. So again, that just underscores the need for us to be as clear-eyed as possible when talking about this stuff. For those who are watching right now, if you appreciate our reporting and if you want to support our work,
hit the like button, you guys. There's about 181 in the building. Continue to hit the like button, you guys, and thank you. We're just doing general updates on what's going on in the news, what's being talked about. Let's continue fair use.
Last night, with the Epstein uproar continuing, new details today that undercut White House claims as well as fueling more questions. NBC News reporting top officials did huddle last night, specifically to discuss the Epstein scandal and what they will do about ongoing questions and transparency, something that VP Vance basically all but denied yesterday. Maybe Trump officials are rattled. Maybe they don't have one story to tell. The meeting followed that messaging from the president, who handed the mic to Vice President Vance, who said they weren't going to be doing that kind of meeting, called that fake news. But the reporting says that Attorney General Bondi and FBI Director Patel were there, and that this occurred different than some of the initial reports, ultimately at the White House. Now, if the location changed, but the topics and meeting participants stayed the same, it looks like basically the core point of the early reporting that they were so quick to deny, that there was a kind of high-level emergency Epstein meeting, still happened. Now, here's Vance and Trump, as mentioned.
It's completely fake news. We're not meeting to talk about the Epstein situation, and I think the reporter who reported it needs to get better sources.
Look, the whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats because we've had the most successful 6 months in the history of our country, and that's just a way of trying to divert attention to something that's total bullshit.
The president there, who has increasingly sounded disinhibited in this second term, swearing in public, not something we usually see from presidents, but more important than the rhetoric are the underlying facts. That contrary to the denials, there is evidence and reporting, there is a meeting. That contrary to the initial claims that Donald Trump and his team would bring transparency to the Epstein case, the Epstein files as we've heard them called, no transparency at all. And MAGA leaders, among others, saying it's a cover-up. And despite the denial, the report suggests that the strategy meeting at Vance's residence was basically canceled in response to the reporting about it. So again, they are trying to do certain things while not getting caught doing those things, and they are willing to change locations or perhaps other details for the optics. The story goes well beyond optics, with reporting that casts doubt about Trump's denials and the way that he has tried to defend whatever his history is with Epstein. He recently claimed to have banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago in 2000. Aide said that he did ban the now deceased sex trafficker, but it was later in 2004. But a New York Post article stokes different questions because it was in 2007 that outlet, a tabloid that has long covered Donald Trump, far longer than he was in politics, noted that Epstein denies he's banned from Mar-a-Lago and says, in fact, he was recently invited to an event there. Now, that doesn't squash or end the matter because it may be that Epstein was trying to get out from under the perception that he's banned. And of course, you could be banned from somewhere and still have someone invite you there, not knowing you're banned. So a lot of that just feeds, again, the questions about why it's so hard for everyone involved in their history to explain exactly what it was and when it ended. New heat on Trump, meanwhile, from MAGA, as we've been telling you, Trump has all but kept the door open to pardoning the only living Epstein conspirator in prison, Ms. Maxwell. Far-right podcaster Candace Owens responding thusly.
Don't even act surprised when he pardons Ghislaine Maxwell. That would just be foolish of you, foolish of me to think that he's not going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, okay? Trump is implicated by his sheer deceit right now in this moment. He is being so deceitful. It's incredible.
There's a delivery driver in Roy and Riverdale.
And that would be crazy that. Let's like the video, Fair use reaction clip. That'd be crazy.
Trump officials scrambling to get their story straight. MAGA voices, who have been loyal on many other issues and controversies, have now made it clear week after week, this one is different. They will not go along with the spin or outright lies, some call it, gaslighting, Joe Rogan call it. The heat from MAGA is a reminder that a president who has at times had cult-like loyalty, which many politicians would like, is finding limits on it early in the second term. With that in mind, we turn to a guest well-versed on exactly these issues. Sarah Matthews served as Trump White House Deputy Press Secretary, currently serves working with the Home of the Brave PAC, but also has distanced herself from Donald Trump from Jan 6 on. Welcome back to the program.
Thanks so much for having me on again.
What do you see specifically in a MAGA revolt that will not quiet as Donald Trump betrays or breaks many of the vows that he and others made about transparency, at least in this case?
Yeah, this is something that Donald Trump campaigned on. He said that when he was put back in office that he would release this list. And it wasn't just him. It was many of these administration officials as well. You look at folks like Kash Patel, Dan Bongino. They were out there saying the same thing, that they wanted to see transparency when it came to Jeffrey Epstein. And all of a sudden, they seem to have changed their tune. You obviously know that Pam Bondi initially had all these right-wing influencers come to the White House, and they gave them these binders of phase one of releasing the Epstein files. And then all of a sudden, the White House no longer wants to talk about it. Donald Trump keeps saying that this is a hoax. He's saying that using colorful language to describe it, as you noted as well at the top of the program. And it just begs the question, what are they trying to cover up? Because they either have to admit that they lied to their voters about there being a list, or they need to acknowledge that they're part of the cover-up when it comes to this. And it's not only a slap.
Good morning or good afternoon. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 5 if you've been here before, where you're watching from. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 50K next month. Also hit the like button. Continue to get the likes up. If I can get 100 people to please hit the subscribe button, and thank you. Let's continue. Fair use, reaction clip.
The face to their voters when they campaigned on this. More importantly, it's a slap in the face to the victims who really deserve answers and transparency on this issue.
Let's take a listen to Congresswoman Mace, how she's trying to play this.
Most of the voters that I talk to want to see the files released. I mean, that's what I've heard all across South Carolina.
But they're blaming the president's administration, Bondi, for not being transparent enough. Do you understand why they feel that way?
Well, I know that the president has asked for files to be released, like the transcript from the grand jury. He asked for those files to come out and be released, and I guess the judge blocked it.
Sarah, we've seen some elected Republicans do that dance, while the base and the sort of podcasters and new media folks who are clearly not as one note as, say, Fox News, are taking a different tune. Given that you yourself have spoken out against Donald Trump, while you obviously work for him for some reasons, you drew a line and then experienced sort of the backlash that can come from that on the right or with MAGA. What do you think of this type of revolt, and how does it play inside the White House, given your knowledge?
Yeah, I mean, this definitely is difficult for Republicans to manage. Obviously, with anything with Donald Trump, they're constantly towing a line and trying to appease him. But with this issue in particular, we're seeing that it's sticking around. It's not going away. Obviously, we've been talking about it in the news for weeks. And so this isn't something that I feel like these elected officials can just ignore or brush off because they know that their constituents want answers. And especially when you're coming from some of those more deep red districts, I think, or deep red states, they know that their constituents in particular really care about this issue. And so they can't just brush it off, even though obviously the White House would love for them to do that. But I think it makes it even more difficult for someone, not just like a Nancy Mace, but you look at Speaker Mike Johnson and how he's had to navigate this. He literally sent his office and everyone out of DC for the summer already and started the August recess early because he doesn't want to be talking about this issue and he's just hoping that it will go away.
Yeah.
Do you think that basically this whole approach you're talking about, make it go away, run out the clock? Do you think there's any risk that sort of they lose people in a more fundamental way? We talked this week about how George Bush withstood many scandals and criticisms, but ultimately he had a Katrina moment, he never rebounded from it. Do you think Epstein could grow that large, or is that sort of misunderstanding the way this movement works, one you know?
I think with any controversy with Donald Trump, it always appears like he's Teflon. Nothing is able to stick, and the news cycle quickly changes, and he's able to bounce right back from any controversy I've ever witnessed with him. But this seems to be like the one that might have some sticking power, and I think it's because his MAGA base cares so deeply about this issue, and he's trying to gaslight them. And I think that they're actually seeing through the lies and the distractions that him and the administration are pushing. And so it doesn't matter how many backroom, war room strategy type of meetings that this White House and the DOJ and the FBI are going to have on how to combat this. I think that the voters and the American people are demanding transparency and answers on this, and it does seem to really have riled up the base. As you noted with the podcaster types, with Candace Owens, Joe Rogan, they're talking about this issue too. And a lot of those newer voters that came into the coalition for Trump who voted for him in 2024, they aren't as loyal maybe as some of the OG MAGA base. And so I think that a lot of those voters are going to be really, really upset. And that's not exactly what you want as we go into the midterm election cycle, that this is what we're talking about, that we're talking about Epstein. And it does just appear like there is a cover-up happening from the administration.
That's what it feels like. Like the video, like the video. That's what it feels like from everybody's opinions. Let's hit the like button, you guys. Let's continue to hit the subscribe button. Let's continue. Fair use, reaction clip.
Deploys the National Guard to the city. It's all part of his new game show. Have you forgotten I was super tight with a pedophile? This is
Like the video as y'all come in.
Another day with a pedophile show.
President Trump declaring a public safety emergency, saying he's activated 800 National Guard members in the nation's capital and has now placed the D.C. Police Department under federal control, saying that Attorney General Pam Bondi will, quote, take command. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C.
Wait a minute. Today is Liberation Day? Wasn't April 2nd?
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
Wow. If you're going to stand before the American people and attempt to sell a brazen autocratic power grab, at least have the decency to give it a new title. But here we are, with a president of the United States stooping to a new low and trying his best to justify it.
And you people are victims of it too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot.
Those are the only two options. Either let this man and his MAGA minions pull a level of executive overreach this nation's never seen before, or get mugged, raped, shot, and killed. That's what's on the menu. I mean, I guess a third option could be providing the DC police with enough funding to handle this issue on their own, but there's just one little problem with that.
We know that one big beautiful bill actually cut tens of millions of dollars that would be used to backfill local police officers here in Washington, D.C., and to fund public safety initiatives.
So Donald Trump and congressional Republicans who cut funding to DC police are now claiming that things have gotten so out of control, they have to step in and save the city. And the way that they're saving it is by sending in people who trained in warfare. Last time I checked, carjacking doesn't take the same level of weaponry as storming a building in Fallujah. But another reason Trump used as justification for his insane action was due to the murder rates in D.C.
D.C., 41 per 100,000. Number one that we can find anywhere in the world. Other cities are pretty bad, but they're not as bad as that. Is that where you want to live?
Look, I hate to get all facty here, but it's just a slight issue with all of Donald Trump's stats.
He pointed out the murder rate using these White House figures there. Tried to compare the murder rate in D.C. To other capitals around the world. Now, it's worth pointing out that some of these other capitals, some of these other countries will perhaps have different gun laws.
Hey, how about that? In America, we have more guns, so we have more murders. It's so simple, even an idiot can understand it. It bears pointing out that we would rather take up collective residence inside the colon of this.
Like the video, There's about 168 in the building. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Continue to hit the like button, you guys. Thanks for supporting the channel. Fair use reaction clip.
Want to be dictator, then have to live in a country with any meaningful gun legislation. But once again, you really have to give it up to Trump for having the audacity to demand citizens respect our officers in D.C. when one of his first orders of business in his second term was pardoning criminals who violently disrespected our officers on January 6th.
Oh, that's right.
Trump may have a tiny penis, but that takes some So, in summary, Trump and Republicans say they need the military to step in after they cut funding to D.C. and point specifically to violent crime that's caused as the result of their own lax gun policies. If Republicans were as good at fixing things as they are at breaking them, they might actually serve as a functional political party. But look, the good news is that while Trump's sending the National Guard to California and now D.C., at least it's all out of his system, and we can all rest easy knowing that we've escaped the worst of his authoritarian impulses.
We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. And if we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster. We have a mayor there who's totally incompetent.
That's so
wow.
Here's something
like the video. He's calling out a lot of cities. Are you guys surprised? Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
You'd think he'd focus on places like, I don't know, Memphis, Cleveland, Toledo, or Little Rock, considering those places rank at the top of the most dangerous cities in the U.S. list. I wonder what it is about states like Tennessee, Ohio, and Arkansas that makes him not want to target their cities. Because from everything that I've read, they should be at the top of his list. How many more signs do Americans need that the President of the United States is legitimately hell-bent on being a dictator? At the same time this guy decries other countries and cities for their level of lawlessness, he relishes in the idea of a law enforcement strategy based on officers being able to take matters into their own hands. From his written remarks, the ones he begrudgingly reads from, today Trump bragged that last week his administration flooded an extra 500 federal agents into D.C. And these were members of FBI, ATF, DEA, DHS, Secret Service, U.S. Marshals, and Park Police. And what seems to disappoint Trump most is that these government officials have to follow the law.
Last week, my administration surged 500 federal agents into the district, including from the FBI, ATF, DEA, Park Police, U.S. Marshal Service, the Secret Service, and the Department of Homeland Security. You know, a lot of nations, they don't have anything like that. They got some police.
and they're rough police. They don't have DEA, ATF, FBI, Park Police, U.S. Marshal Service, Secret Service, Department of Homeland Security. They got some police, but they're rough police. And they do their job. They don't have crime. We're not going to have crime either.
Do you hear how frustrated he is that he doesn't live in a country where the cops can beat people up consequence-free? Trump loves repercussion-free violence so much, I'm surprised caddy beating isn't one of the packages offered at his resort. But now that he's in his second term, Trump's decided that he's going to mold our nation into the kind he respects.
It's a disgusting thing. I've watched that for years, for 3-4 years. I've watched them. The police are standing, and they're told, don't do anything under any search. So this, and you can see they want to get at it. And they're standing there, and people are spitting in their face, and they're not allowed to do anything. But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want.
Whatever the hell. Unfortunately, I don't think he's talking about this.
Like the video, like the video.
Yes, if only that was the popping and locking we had to fear. Besides transforming your country's military into your own personal police force, another dictator-esque move is controlling your country's media so the citizens of your nation are only fed favorable coverage of your every move. Not only did Donald Trump make ABC, CBS, and Paramount, among a host of others, bend to his will, he personally called the finger of Gumford and Sons and did the same thing.
I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government.
Charlie Kirk, holding truth to power. Except when it comes to pedophiles. And for Trump, his dictatorial aspirations just wouldn't be complete without a little accumulation of wealth at the expense of the nation's most vulnerable. Trump has cut healthcare from 17 million Americans, cut food assistance from low-income families, and raised the cost of everyday goods thanks to his chaotic tariff policy. And while those people look for how they're going to afford to pay for those things, he is looking for where to place the gold-encrusted chandelier in his new White House ballroom. What Donald Trump is doing is not new. It's just new here. And for a bunch of people who swear to love this country and the values it holds dear, to endorse Trump's autocratic moves, well, that is the least American thing I can think of. Donald Trump is doing exactly what he and his minions promised. They are flooding the zone in an attempt to overwhelm any opposition. And even worse, they're attempting to normalize actions like the one he took today. The fact is, crime rates, arrests, border crossings, Donald Trump doesn't care about those numbers. The only numbers he cares about are the ones on this hat.
Like the video, like the video.
Before you go, if you enjoyed this content,
fair use reaction clip. What do you guys think about him calling out certain cities? Are some of those cities, which type of mayor do they have? Is the mayors of some of those cities he's calling out, are some of those mayors, are he targeting certain areas? Some people are talking about that. Like the video, like the video. Fair use reaction clip. We got about 149 in the building. If I can please get you to please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 50K next month. Thank you.
President Trump doesn't just want to clean up crime in D.C. He wants to get rid of the homeless encampments, too. He can't deport Americans, so where will they go? I'm 23 arrests last night for murder, guns, and drugs, among other things. But President Trump's plan to make D.C. safer and more beautiful isn't just about cracking down on crime. He also wants the homeless off the streets. The White House says 2 homeless encampments remain in D.C. federal parks, and they are scheduled to be cleared out this week.
Wow.
Reportedly as soon as tomorrow.
Wow.
U.S. Park Police have already removed more than 70 of these camps just since March. So the deal on the table, according to the White House, is go to a shelter or go to jail.
Wow.
Individuals will be given the option to leave their encampment, to be taken to a homeless shelter, to be offered addiction or mental health services, and if they refuse, they will be susceptible to fines or to jail time.
Now, according to the latest government tracking, more than 5,600 homeless people live in the nation's capital. 900 of them are unsheltered or living on the street. So the big question now is, where do they go? President Trump has said he wants the homeless relocated far from the Capitol.
Wow.
And the White House said today that's still the plan. They're exploring how to do it, both logistically and legally. Let's go right now to News Nation's Joe Khalil, live for us on the streets of Washington. Joe, you've been speaking with some homeless people in the district about this plan. What are you hearing?
Yeah, well, first, before that, Elizabeth, I just want to point over here. You see maybe in the distance, there are 4 federal agents there. They came out. Most of them had DEA on their vests. That is the reason we're here right now. This is the wharf, this area in Washington, D.C., where for the past couple of nights, as the sun has gone down, there have been reports and pictures of that higher level of law enforcement here, and that federal agents were here as well from the FBI and other agencies. And we just saw, as we were beginning this live shot here, we saw that. Now, obviously, we know the National Guard. They're already here. We saw them earlier today, not in this location, but at the D.C. Armory. We're not sure that they've been deployed anywhere else in the city, but all of this really shows that this federalization of Washington, D.C., we're starting effects of it little by little, whether it's the presence of those officers here in this area where people come to go to bars and restaurants at night. There's a big boardwalk. Earlier today, the White House took credit for 23 arrests overnight that they said took place in part because of the surge in law enforcement there as well. And they had the mayor of D.C., Muriel Bowser, meeting with the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, today. Both of them came out and said that it was a productive meeting. And there is a serious level of cooperation there. It's pretty clear between D.C. and the federal agents and the federal law enforcement, despite the fact that, as we've been reporting, a lot of people who live here don't like seeing this federalization. Take a listen to what Mayor Bowser said coming out of the meeting today.
My old roof was leaking everywhere. But when contractors
like the video, fair use, reaction clip. There's about 192 in the building. If I could please get 192 people to please hit subscribe, and thank you. Continue to hit the like button, you guys. We're almost at 100.
And how to make the most of the additional officer support that we have. How we got here, or what we think about the circumstances right now, we have more police, and we want to make sure we're using them.
Now, the other element to this, as you pointed out, Elizabeth, is the homeless encampments. And today we're all over the district and actually talking to some homeless people who live in those tents. And many of them say they're worried about what comes next. The plan from the White House, we heard, was that they're going to essentially offer all of the homeless people an option. You can either go to a rehab for mental health or addiction, or you can go to a shelter. And if they don't comply with those, there could be jail time, there could be fines. But a lot of the homeless folks we talked to don't trust the shelters. They say they've seen violence there. They have also had things stolen from them, they told us. There is also a problem about logistics and whether there's enough space. Take a listen before we carry on to what we heard today from just a couple of homeless folks who are seriously worried about this.
That's going to be a mess, because that's going to be a mess. I'm telling you, these guys, they say we have nothing to lose. We're already on the street. So do whatever you want to do. If you really care about me, then help me.
I'm just trying to live. I'm trying to survive. I'm just trying to find a way. I've been just trying to find work. I mean, it's been hard out here to be homeless. The shelters are not clean always. I mean, the shelters, I'm saying, it's like you surviving for yourself. I'm saying, I'm surviving myself right here.
Elizabeth, homeless advocates today told us there are about 40 to 60 available beds right now in D.C. shelters collectively, and about 900 to 1,000 homeless people sleeping on the street. So again, there's a math problem there. Which is another reason there's some concern.
Huge math problem. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Logistically about how this plan might be carried out.
Yeah, the math isn't mathing, as they say. If you've got 60 beds and 900 homeless people, Joe Khalil, reporting live from D.C. Thank you so much. Let's bring in our panel now. Geraldo Rivera is a News Nation correspondent at large, and Adam Recap is the deputy director at Miriam's Kitchen, a group working to end homelessness in D.C. Thank you both for being with us. Geraldo, what do you make of this push to clear out the homeless encampments, Trump's order to the homeless in D.C. to, quote, move out of the city immediately and go far away from the Capitol? What do you make of it all?
Well, if you mean politically what I make of it, Elizabeth, it's the president taking advantage of a real situation to score political points against his opposition, the Democrat-led big cities that are crime-riddled and have other obvious problems like homelessness. To me, I think it's very clear that President Trump, on the issue, substantively, is right about Washington, D.C. It is scary. It is shabby. Homelessness is a chronic problem. About time they're paying attention to it. If there's a problem with not enough beds, we certainly have surged enough beds for the undocumented migrants. You think the native-born homeless could... Facts.
Good afternoon. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 5 if you've been here before and where you're watching from. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you're having a great morning or afternoon.
Be housed in surged homes. But, the violence has been horrible in D.C. It's 4 or 5 times greater than New York City.
7 times. The murder rate is 7 times, Geraldo.
7 times. It's just horrifying. That's the nation's capital. It's just inappropriate. Now, whether the solution is the National Guard, I don't know. This is all headline seeking. This is all political, tweaking the opposition. I've never seen National Guardsmen nab a purse snatcher or any other criminal. They don't carry their rifles. So bring the National Guard. And look what happened in L.A. Several thousand military a couple of weeks ago, now fewer than a couple of hundred, because that experiment in Los Angeles was inappropriate. But listen, when I'm taking a metro in D.C. and it's nighttime, or I'm even going to get the Uber, and I'm looking around because I'm fearful that city is going to explode and bite me or my loved ones, you know,
Yeah.
and it's about time. Maybe this wasn't the way to do it, but it's about time that our nation's capital got this kind of attention paid to it.
Adam, we just talked about the fact that the math isn't mathing. There aren't enough shelter beds for all the homeless who are living in Washington, D.C. What about Geraldo's idea of surging? Why can't we find some sort of facilities? But also, more important, you just heard a couple men who are living on the street in Washington, D.C., who told our reporter, Joe Khalil, I don't want to go to the shelter.
Yeah, at Miriam's Kitchen, we worked to end homelessness in DC. So, and I've been working at Miriam's Kitchen on the ground for almost 20 years, you know, working with individuals like you interviewed every day. And the real solution is housing. So right now, everyone's talking about shelter, and housing-focused shelter is an important thing to be offered until there's enough housing. But really, we should be talking about surging housing as the permanent solution, because I've seen day after day, year after year, is that's what moves someone from staying on the street to not being on the street anymore.
Okay, but let's deal with it, because
moving people just keep the problem happening.
Right. Obviously, affordable housing is a big issue in this country, and not just in Washington, D.C. But in this immediate action that President Trump is taking, homeless people are now being offered, as we speak, as we are speaking, an ultimatum. You know, you can go to a shelter or you can go to jail. What happens after 30 days?
Or the hospital. Let's make that clear. Fair use reaction clip.
And he also wants them moved far away from the Capitol. Isn't that just moving the problem to a place where less people will see the problem?
Exactly.
Yeah, moving a problem is just hiding a problem, and it's not a solution. So the solution is housing. Also, things like tickets, criminalizing, arresting people just makes the problem worse. It makes it harder for people to exit homelessness. The real solution is the type of housing-focused street outreach teams that Miriam's Kitchen and others do, that build a relationship with people, figure out the why that someone is experiencing homelessness, and then connect people to the housing and the housing-focused shelter that are the real solutions.
Geraldo, you've been on the show before talking about this issue. Homelessness is a crisis in many, many cities, and many Democrats and Republicans are frustrated and upset with the size of the problem right now. Last month, President Trump signed an executive order encouraging cities to round up homeless people who are mentally ill or severely addicted to drugs and put them in treatment facilities or in hospitals, even against their will. I can tell you from my reporting on this story, from my experience living in New York City and having family in Los Angeles and being in DC a lot, there are homeless people who need a house and are homeless just because they can't find a house. And then there are homeless people who are clearly addicted to drugs or who are clearly severely mentally ill.
Obviously, everything you said right there is the gospel truth. I absolutely agree. I applaud Miriam's Kitchen, and I wish that we could be replicated 10 times as many Miriam's Kitchens all over the place. So there could be services. But there is also a kind of a lethargy, a kind of an entitlement that I've seen from one coast to the other when it comes to home. I've been dealing with homeless, and I think in a compassionate way for a long time. I've been in the business for over 50 years. I've done this story 100 times, literally 100 times. And the attraction of New York City, the attraction of the nation's capital, the attraction of Los Angeles or San Francisco. The homeless don't go nearly as much to places. I don't want to, to put any place down, but they don't go to the less glamorous places. I think there needs to be much more of a parental tough love approach. The way Giuliani had it here in New York, the way Bloomberg had it here in New York. You need to say to this person, you can't camp out on this sidewalk. You can't defecate in this park or you by the school. There has to be a time where the president, like Trump has just done, says that there's going to be meaningful responsibility. There's a penalty that comes with violating your responsibility as a citizen. And I think that when it comes, particularly, this is the nation's capital.
Right.
This is the center of the universe. And, to have that scene that you showed, I think is appalling. The president may be clumsy in his approach to this, but I back him.
Adam, super quick, because we only have 10 seconds left. You gave a TED Talk a few years ago saying we could end homelessness. Why haven't we?
Good
if
question.
So many people across the political lines are so bothered by it.
Yeah, we know individual story by story how housing first works, and that housing is the answer, and we can house everyone, or we can house anyone. And the real thing that we need to face is that we need to put the resources on to house everyone, because we know the solution, and this isn't rocket science, and that we could all come together and be solution focused and make a change.
All right. Somehow it all sounds good when you say it. Somehow the execution gets caught up in a lot of problems. Geraldo Rivera, Adam Rocap, thanks so much for joining us tonight to talk about this tough problem. All right, from ending crime and homelessness in D.C. to ending the war in Ukraine, we're just 3 days away from President.
Continue to hit the like button, you guys. It's about 150 in the building. Can I please get 50 people to double tap that screen to get the likes up? The likes should match the views. Can I get 50 people to double tap that screen to hit the like? Let's get the likes to 100. We're at 81. 50 people to double tap that screen. If you're watching from a phone or a tablet, or if you're watching from a TV, you can double tap the video with the like above the video, below the video. A thumbs up above the video, below the video. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Trump's high-stakes sit-down with Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky wasn't invited. It's unclear how much progress Trump and Putin can make without him. The question of a so-called land swap has been dominating the coverage leading up to the meeting, but Russia has seized much more than Ukrainian territory. It has also kidnapped tens of thousands of Ukrainian children. Ukrainian officials say more than 30,000 kids have been abducted from their families and moved. Trafficked is the word for it. Trafficked into Russian territory. President Zelensky discussed the issue today with a small group of reporters. News Nation's Robert Sherman is one of them. He joins us now live from Kyiv in Ukraine. Robert, what did President Zelensky have to say about all this?
Like the video, like the video. Fair use reaction clip. Continue to hit the like button. We're almost there, you guys. Another 20 people to double tap that screen to hit the like. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Well, you can tell, Elizabeth, that this is an issue that is deeply personal to him and believes that many around the globe are not paying close enough attention to this. But that could all be changing as we anticipate that negotiations are expected to pick up starting Friday in Alaska. We spent the morning with him over the presidential palace, and this was the question that I asked him. How difficult is Russia making it to get these children back, and what role could these children play in the negotiations? He says that Russia has really been dealing in ultimatums and has not budged on much at all. But in terms of the role these children will play, this is what he said to me. He said, that is why we wanted to get certain matters settled in this trilateral track, ceasefire, and all-for-all exchange, and the return of children. This is something everyone benefits from. President Trump benefits, the Russians lose nothing, the Ukrainians lose nothing. It's a fair compromise, a ceasefire. And tonight, in his evening address, he thanked Qatar, who's played a key role in mediating and getting children back.
Today, I also spoke with the Emir of Qatar. I thanked him for his help in the release of our children who had been abducted by Russia. Those are extraordinary mediation efforts.
This is an around-the-clock kind of effort here, Elizabeth, and to give you an example, just today, the organization Bring Back Kids Ukraine said a mother and 4 children will return to Ukraine today. It is a huge issue here on the ground in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Elizabeth?
More than 30,000 kids taken. That's a huge issue. Robert, reporting live from Ukraine. Thank you. All right, we have one business note to go to as we go to a break, and believe me, it's a good one. There was green across the screen today with the Dow up nearly 500 points. Both the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq hit fresh record highs. The reason for all of this was largely due to today's inflation report, which came in a lot better than expected, mainly because of falling gas prices. Many investors now think it's more than likely that the Fed will lower interest rates next month because of that inflation data. All right, coming up for us, a drug stronger and more threatening than fentanyl is here in America, and you may never have heard of it. A former acting DA administrator has been sounding the alarm on nitazines for years. He joins me live next. And then later, it's official, the hot blob has gone viral. Nearly 500,000 viewers watched.
Like the video, like the video. We're talking hot topics, trending topics. Like the video as you guys come in, and thank you. We're almost at 100. Continue to hit the like button by double tapping the screen, and thank you.
Our TikTok video about the mysterious mass that's creeping toward New York City. It's 250 miles wide. Nobody knows what it is, but News Nation's on the case.
Wow.
New psychoactive substance.
Than heroin. It is often mixed into other street drugs, so users don't even know they're taking it. And even worse, it is resistant to Narcan, the top treatment for opioid overdoses.
Wow.
As you would expect, nitazine is claiming more and more lives. In January, 22-year-old Lucci McAllister died after taking what he thought was Xanax, but it ended up being made entirely from nitazines. And just 3 months later, Lucci's friend, 21-year-old Hunter Clement, took what he thought was a Percocet. It also contained nitazines, and he also died. The boys' mothers are now speaking up for the first time on television. They shared their stories with Jesse Weber on Cuomo last night.
Yes, they both took a pill that they didn't think it was nitazine, but they took it and not knowing that they could potentially die. They would never have done that to their families. It's not on drug testing panels, the majority of them right now.
Let's continue with the news. Fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in, and thanks for being here. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
To the fray, along with some other colleagues colleagues on the House Oversight Committee, Jasmine Crockett, Greg Casar, Robert Garcia, to push back against what these Texas Republicans are doing by virtue of trying to get the FBI involved in retrieving these Democrats who fled to Illinois and California to break quorum. Can you give a little bit of insight into what you're looking to find out from Kash Patel and Pam Bondi here?
Well, this is not the first time that Republicans have actually tried to get the FBI and other federal agents involved in hounding and harassing Democrats from the Texas state legislature who are trying to break quorum in order to prevent a complete demolition of people's voting rights. And here, of course, in the wake of their throwing 17 million people off of Medicaid, Donald Trump's solution was to say, we're going to basically squeeze 5 more U.S. House seats out of Texas. And the way they're going to do that is to have a mid-decade redistricting. So with the mid-decade redistricting, they could destroy a whole bunch of House seats of our colleagues like Julie Johnson and Lloyd Doggett, Greg Casar, Al Green, Henry Cuellar. And so they're targeting Democrats. And so the state legislative Democrats have said, no way, we're not going to participate in that. We're not for an extraordinary mid-decade demolition of people's voting rights, and they left the state. So now they're saying, the Republicans are saying, well, we're going to declare their seats vacant. In the meantime, we're going to get the FBI to hunt them down. One problem with that is that they're not violating or even accused of violating any federal statute. There's no federal law against leaving your state. On the contrary, the Constitution gives you the right to leave your state. So there's no federal offense they're being accused of. And President Trump wants to use the FBI like his own personal national security private police force to do whatever he wants for political reasons.
So is there any steps that Congress would be able to take to prevent the abuse of the FBI? Look, Trump doesn't care, and he's going to want to send them in because he views them, again, as his personal police force. And so is there anything that you can do to prevent that abuse from happening before he actually does it?
So with, Congressman Garcia, who's now the ranking member of the Oversight Committee, which was my old position, I'm now on the Judiciary Committee, we together have said that this is totally out of bounds and off limits to the FBI, and we demanded from Pam Bondi and from Kash Patel a complete accounting of what's going on there, because you've got Republican senators who are simply stating as a fact that the FBI is involved in this. We don't know whether they're not telling the truth or whether they're telling the truth, but they're not coming clean on it. But in any event, we want to know, and we want to use our oversight power over the Department of Justice to find out what's happening.
Can you speak about the fact that they are trying to present this, and you alluded to this before, they are trying to present this as some crime being committed by the Texas Democrats, but in fact, quorum breaking is a tool that's been upheld by the Texas Supreme Court, and it's a tool that's been used throughout American history as early as the 1800s. I mean, Abraham Lincoln jumped out of a window in the Illinois State House to break quorum because he didn't agree with something that they were trying to pass. And so this is in our over 200-year history, this has been used several times as a political tool to achieve a political end.
Well, it's obviously a legitimate parliamentary procedure. It's also plainly not a federal offense. There's no federal crime of crossing state lines for the purposes of evading a quorum or denying a quorum. On the contrary, as you say, it's a time-hallowed political maneuver. In any event, if it were to be a federal crime, Congress would have to adopt it. It would have to be signed into law by the president. And there is no federal offense. Therefore, the FBI should get back to work on child sex trafficking, for example, or anti-terrorism efforts. It should not be working on chasing down Democrats just because the president wants them to.
So I want to switch gears here now to Trump's ending home rule in Washington, D.C. Can you talk a little bit about the procedure of what he's able to do? There's a 48-hour rule that he's in the midst of right now, and that could be extended only if Congress votes to extend it. So what are the rules here in terms of Congress being able to extend Trump's suspension of home rule in D.C.?
Well, in 1973, Congress gave modified home rule to the District of Columbia, meaning there's a mayor, there's a city council, there's a school board, there's self-government there. Congress always has residual authority to step in the way a state would have the authority to step in for a particular city or a county under it. But basically, there's a home rule government. There's a provision in that home rule charter which says that in the event of a federal emergency, the president can take over the DC police force. And so without specifying what the emergency is, Donald Trump has declared that there is an emergency and has said he's taking over the DC police force. The mayor didn't ask for it. The DC council didn't ask for it. Crime is at a 30-year low in the District of Columbia. Congress did not ask for it. It looks like a transparent distraction from the president's problems with respect to the Epstein file, which, as you know, Brian, he had promised to release, but now suddenly he's gone very quiet on it and just is trying to hide the Epstein file under his bed somewhere. So this is another effort to change the subject and to
Not hide it under his bed. Let's continue. Fair use.
Attack a Democrat city. He's talking about graffiti and too many homeless people and so on. And if anybody, wanted Donald Trump to be the mayor of their city, they would have elected him mayor of the city. But he's invoking this provision. After 48 hours, Congress has the power to declare that there's not an emergency. And I am going to be introducing a joint resolution, a motion to declare that there is no emergency in D.C. Hopefully we get some Republicans to join us. If not, it will last only for the 1 month period, at which point it expires unless Congress decides to reauthorize emergency powers in the District of Columbia. But, I've been thinking ever since this started, Brian, we know what an emergency looks like in D.C. because we had one 4.5 years ago on January 6, 2021, when Trump unleashed terrible mob violence against the police force of the District of Columbia, the Capitol Police, the Congress, the Vice President of the United States, and refused to do what he's doing right now, which is to activate the National Guard. So he did not activate the National Guard when we needed it. Now he's activating the National Guard when nobody's asking for it.
If Congress wants to authorize this thing, does it take a simple majority, or will it take 60 senators, like when you're passing any actual law?
It would take an actual majority just to pass a statutory emergency for D.C. and to invoke emergency powers. But with the procedures of the Senate, it would effectively take 60 senators in order to determine that.
So in theory, they're likely not going to get 60 senators unless there's a bunch of defections by Democrats. And so does that suggest that we won't even see a first 30-day extension?
If you're currently insured,
like the video, fair use, reaction clip. Like the video. There's about 185 in the building. If I could please get 185 people to hit the subscribe button, and thank you. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. Thank you. Continue to hit the like, you guys. If I can get 20 people to double tap that screen to get the likes up. If you already subscribed, thank you. If you already hit like, thank you. We're at 91. Can I get 20 people to double tap that screen to get the likes up so we can continue? Can I get 20 people to double tap that screen so we get the likes up? Yeah, let's get the likes up. Every show I should be at 200, but definitely have to get to 100 now. Thank you. Let's continue to hit double tap the screen. We're almost there at 100. Thank you, you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Whether he can just keep declaring 30-day emergencies. We would say, of course, no, that defeats the whole idea of it just being for 30 days and then turning it over to Congress to decide. But as with everything else, Donald Trump's attention span is like 3 minutes. And so he'll be off to Greenland or Panama or Canada or tariffs or something in that time in any event. I mean, nobody believes that he's really committed to public safety in D.C. If he were, he would not have pardoned 1,600 insurrectionists and violent cop beaters without talking to the police in D.C. or the mayor or the D.C. council. He would not have sacked dozens of the most experienced criminal prosecutors at the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. Simply because they had participated in the January 6th prosecutions, and they would not have impounded essentially $1 billion of locally raised revenue that the people of D.C. want to be able to spend on criminal justice and law enforcement and public education and so on. So nobody takes that seriously. This is just more theatrics and fireworks from them.
Can you speak about the danger, though, of kind of normalizing Americans to this idea that the American military is going to be walking the streets of their cities in anticipation of what he may try to do as we head toward 2026? Because we've already seen from Trump himself, so this isn't even just theoretical, we have seen Trump try to seize voting machines in an election. And of course, there were folks like Bill Barr who were in place, not exactly some raging Democrat, but Bill Barr in place saying that his claims of a stolen election were bullshit. Bill Barr is now replaced with Pam Bondi, who's perfectly content to toe the line whatever Donald Trump puts forward. And so, this idea that now there's no opposition to him from the DOJ, and if he has boots on the ground in the form of these troops, these National Guardsmen, what can that mean as we head toward 2026?
Well, you're totally right that this is a destruction of a lot of traditional boundaries and constitutional boundaries. One is the boundary between the duties of the military and regular police law enforcement. The Posse Comitatus Act has banned, for most of American history, the military being used for law enforcement purposes. And Donald Trump is talking about how the graffiti in the District of Columbia is out of control and the homeless people are out of control. And that's why he wants to put 800 National Guardsmen on the streets of Washington, D.C. Well, that's obviously a destruction of the basic concept that we've had that you don't use the military for purposes of law enforcement. Just like it's not up to the president to be suspending habeas corpus, that would be the role of Congress to do that. And yet Donald Trump is now trying to condition the country to get ready for what's happening in D.C. to happen all over the country. He's mentioned Baltimore, he's mentioned Chicago and Detroit and Los Angeles, I think. So he has had different pretexts in different places. We know about the immigration pretext for violating basic constitutional principles like due process. Now we have a law and order pretext in the District of Columbia, despite the fact that crime is at a 30-year low. And one of the greatest spikes, if not the greatest spike in crime in this century has been when Donald Trump incited a violent insurrection against Congress in the District of Columbia. But in any event, he wants the country to be conditioned to him simply declaring that Democrat-run cities are fair game for him to militarize law enforcement and take over the governance of the city. And it's an outrage, and it's totally outside the bounds of the Constitution.
And finally, let's finish off with this. Can you speak on the fact that it was Trump who just deployed the National Guard into Washington, D.C., despite the last few years of him claiming that the only person who has the authority to deploy the National Guard into Washington, D.C., or conversely, to prevent the deployment of the National Guard into Washington, D.C., was Nancy Pelosi or the Speaker of the House. And so, even if we grant him that, okay, Pelosi's not the Speaker of the House, was it Mike Johnson then who deployed the National Guard to Washington, D.C.? And if not, how do you square the fact that he had said it could only be the Speaker for the last several years while trying to defend himself?
Right, and that was obviously fraudulent when he first started saying it, but now what we get is this at least indirect confession that he was lying all the time. Of course, the president controls the National Guard for D.C. The president is always in control of the National Guard for D.C., and so by sitting on his hands during the riot he had unleashed, he knew exactly what he was doing. And when he tweeted out, that Vice President Pence did not have the courage to do what needed to be done, he knew that he was further emboldening the mob and not doing anything to stop the mob and to protect his vice president or protect the Congress. And that's why Mike Pence didn't run with him again. It permanently burned bridges there. But this indeed is a very frank acknowledgement that, he's got power over the National Guard when it comes to Washington, D.C.
I'll leave it there. Congressman, thank you so much for the time.
Like the video. Like the video. Like the videos you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the channel. Like the videos you guys come in. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Stories. Now that DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, has released all of those classified.
We're going to hear from hold on.
By documents, we're actually seeing who was behind all of this. Do you want to see indictments?
I absolutely want to see indictments, Maria. Look, of course, you've got to have the law follow the facts here. You don't just indict people to indict people. You indict people because they broke the law. But if you look at what Tulsi and Kash Patel have revealed in the last couple of weeks, I don't know how anybody can look at that and say that there wasn't aggressive violations of the law. What they basically did is they defrauded the American people in order to take Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign talking points and turn them into intelligence by defrauding the American people, defrauding the intelligence agencies, lying about what the intel said. They would take something that supported the Hillary Clinton campaign talking point, and they would overemphasize it and exaggerate it. They took anything that actually contradicted that narrative, and they buried it deep. And through that, they actually laundered Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign talking points through the American intelligence services. That's a violation of the people's trust. That's a violation of what our intelligence services should be doing. And I absolutely think they broke the law. You're going to see a lot of people get indicted for that. And here's the thing that we should really bother. What do you want our intelligence community to be doing? I want them to be catching bad guys. I want them to be making sure that terrorists aren't going to kill innocent American civilians. I don't want them laundering Hillary Clinton's campaign talking points into the American media and giving them this air of legitimacy. It is sick and it's disgusting. It hurt the intelligence community, it hurt the American people, and it hurt the first Trump administration. We've got to have consequences for it, or we're just going to see the same play repeated again and after again.
How significant did the president's first term? Because remember, a lot of people didn't want to work in the administration. He was always on defense saying, I didn't collude. What kind of an impact was there to actual policy and the impact on the American people?
Look, it certainly had an impact, Maria. The president likes to say this, and I really think it hits the nail on the head, that as much as he got accomplished, and I think the first Trump administration was a major, major success for the American people, he was both governing but also fighting to survive. Imagine if he was able to put 100% of his efforts and his attention on just doing the job of President of the United States. He had to fight back against the fake Russia collusion hoax pretty much his entire administration. That distracts resources, that distracts from the Department of Justice. That means the intelligence community is focused on that instead of on catching bad guys. It definitely had an impact. Thank God we have a president who was able to do good things for the American people despite it. But one of the reasons why I think the second Trump administration is going so well is because the administration, the people underneath them, the people behind them, the people working for them, they're not engaged in this fake garbage. We're just trying to carry out the mandate of the President of the United States. And I think we've done a very good job. We're very proud of the work that we're doing, but we're also loyal to the man who was elected by the American people.
And here we are on your 200th day, you and the president doing so much in this second term. Let's talk about the president's efforts on
200 days. Are you guys happy within those 200 days? Like the videos you guys come in. There's about 150 in the building. If I can get 150 people to please subscribe and thank you. If I can get 20 people to continue to hit the like button, you guys, we're almost there.
Trade and tariffs, because he's not afraid to put significant tariffs on countries like India for buying Russian oil. Are you going to do a similar move to China as well? They're also buying Russian oil.
Well, the president said he's thinking about it, but he hasn't made any firm decisions. Obviously, the China issue is a little bit more complicated because our relationship with China, it affects a lot of other things that have nothing to do with the Russian situation. So the president's reviewing his options and, of course, going to make that decision when he decides. But look, what the president has used tariffs to do is two things. Number one, you saw Tim Cook just this week come in and promise $600 billion of investment to build the iPhone, to build components, to build artificial intelligence data centers right here in the United States of America. We're seeing a manufacturing boom in this country because you have a president who's telling people that if you want to sell to great American consumers, you've got to make it in America and use great American workers to do it. The second thing the tariffs are doing is it's bringing in a lot of additional revenue, which of course we're using to give tax relief to the American people and make it easier for average Americans to get by. So I think we're doing a lot on the tariff side. And it's also, the final point I'll make on this is it's an incredible negotiating tool. Because when you tell countries that have accessed American markets and cheated for a generation, you can't get into America's market unless you pay a big fat tariff or open up your own markets. You've seen this happen with the European Union. You've seen this happen with countries in Asia, all over the world. They're opening up their markets to American goods because they don't want to pay the tariffs. So it's a great negotiating tactic. It's been great for the American people. And I think it's the most important thing, maybe aside from the border. The most important thing the president is doing is bringing back American prosperity. We're going to make more stuff in America because of the president's leadership.
How long do you expect it'll take to get a real manufacturing infrastructure fired up in America? Because he's threatening 250% tariffs on pharmaceuticals, more tariffs on semiconductor chips unless these companies commit to building it here. So how long before that can actually happen?
Well, the president you saw yesterday said so long as you're committing on semiconductors and chips to build this stuff in America, he might be willing to actually delay those tariffs a little bit. So I think in some cases it's going to take a few weeks, some cases it's going to take a few months, some cases it will take longer. But the basic idea is very simple. If you are investing in America, if you're building a new facility, building a new factory, we're going to reward you for it. If you're investing outside of this country, if you're trying to cheat and bring foreign product to undercut the wages of American workers and American businesses, then you're going to pay a very stiff penalty. That principle is what now drives the American economy, and people can make their own decisions. Yeah, you can make it overseas if you want, as the president said, but you're going to pay a big fat tariff before you access America's market, so you might as well build it right here at home.
Is Europe as aligned with the United States as it should be? What did you make of the backlash over the Switzerland 39% tariff? I'm wondering your assessment of Europe today.
Look, we love Europe, and obviously have great relationships. We sometimes have some disagreements. I think the president was particularly gratified that the Europeans really have agreed and committed to open up their markets to American car manufacturers, to American farmers. They're big wins. If you work in farming, if you work in agriculture, if you work in auto manufacturing, the Europeans really are tearing down some barriers. So we're very grateful to that, and we hope to build on that relationship economically in the coming years.
Well, look, the president has been floating you along with Marco Rubio as your partner for the next election. Have you spoken to Secretary Rubio about this?
I saw Marco about a month ago. We just laughed at the whole thing because neither one of us are focused on politics. We're focused on actually doing a good job for the American people. And the way that I think about it, Maria, is if we do a good job.
Do you live in Michigan?
Like the video, fair use, reaction clip. Continue to subscribe, you guys. If I can get all 104 people to subscribe. If you didn't subscribe, that'll help us to our goal, meeting that as 50K by next month. Let's continue to hit the like button. Thanks for getting the likes to 100. I appreciate you all.
Country for the last 6 months, the next 3.5 years. But if we do a good job, the politics will take care of itself. Let's just focus on that. I think, as the president said, it's way too early to be thinking about the political future. It's frankly way too early to be thinking about 2026. It's certainly way too early to be thinking about 2028.
But you are expecting to run for president in 2028.
I'm not going to break that news today, Maria. What I'm going to do is
focus
for the next 1.5 years on doing a really good job for the American people, winning the midterm elections in 2026, and then we can talk about politics after that.
Can you give us some clarity on this meeting that is reportedly happening or happened last night at the White House about the Epstein files and how you're communicating the Epstein story?
So I've seen so many different fake reports about this. So let me set the record straight. There was no meeting at my house last night. There just wasn't.
Was there a meeting at the White House?
We did meet at the White House yesterday, but not at the time that they said that we were going to meet, and not about the subject that they said that we were going to meet about. We have a great FBI director and a great Department of Justice lead, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and we met to talk about how to ensure we have justice for the American people. We actually didn't talk about the Epstein issue at all. That was never meant to be the subject of the meeting. And it's one of those things where I guess somebody leaked a calendar entry maybe, and then people assumed that it must have been about Epstein, even though it had nothing to do with Epstein. On the Epstein issue, what the president has said very clearly, because we've had other meetings about that, is that he wants us to be fully transparent and he wants the credible information out there. So we're working to compile the thousands and thousands of documents that are out there for full transparency.
Did y'all just hear what he said? Didn't they say there's nothing to be released? And then he said, okay, we'll release what we can release.
And we met to talk about how to ensure we have justice for the American people. We actually didn't talk about the Epstein issue at all. That was never meant to be the subject of the meeting. And it's one of those things where I guess somebody leaked a calendar entry maybe, and then people assumed that it must have been about Epstein, even though it had nothing to do with Epstein. On the Epstein issue, what the president has said very clearly, because we've had other meetings about that, is that he wants us to be fully transparent and he wants the credible information out there. So we're working to compile the thousands and thousands of documents that are out there for full transparency. But I have to say, Maria, I laugh at the Democrats who are now all of a sudden so interested in the Epstein files. For 4 years, Joe Biden and the Democrats did absolutely nothing about this story. We know that Jeffrey Epstein had a lot of...
Let's be very clear. Joe was asleep. We got to move on from Joe. He's in there now. So let's move on from Joe. Let's get the files released and let's move on.
Connections with left-wing politicians and left-wing billionaires, and now President Trump has demanded full transparency from this, and yet somehow the Democrats are attacking him and not the Biden administration, which did nothing for 4 years.
Was it the right move for Comer to send subpoenas to the Clintons?
It absolutely...
Yeah, because he said it was a hoax, remember? And it's not. Other stuff is getting released, but not that. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
And it drives home how, while the Democrats have tried to make this Epstein thing about anything but, the fact that Democrat billionaires and Democrat political leaders went to Epstein Island all the time, who knows what they did, but it's totally reasonable to ask these questions. What you saw in the House's subpoena is they are trying to investigate all of the things related to this particular case. I know a lot of Americans want answers. I certainly want answers. And I think James Comer and the team of the House, they're doing the right thing. And of course, we know that Clinton, or allegedly, he went to the island 26 times, 28
allegedly.
Times. Totally appropriate for Comer to be asking what was going on at that island.
Let me get your quick take on growth and this moment in time that we're at, AI, crypto, et cetera, et cetera. The Securities and Exchange Commission launching Project Crypto. What do you want digital assets to look like? And also, what about the impact of AI on jobs? Is there a plan now to fill those holes for the jobs that no doubt will go away because AI makes everything so much more productive?
There's a lot of talk about robots destroying all the jobs. There's a lot of talk about how AI is going to destroy everybody's job. I actually don't see the evidence of that. What I think is that AI, there are some issues. I worry about the surveillance state because artificial intelligence is going to be used for that. I really worry about invasions of people's privacy because AI could be used for that. There are definitely concerns with AI, but I think that the big risk is fundamentally you've got a bunch of very left-wing people who might use AI to censor people and drive a very left-wing narrative using artificial intelligence. In some ways, they're going to do with AI what they tried to do with big tech. Those are the things that we're really focused on, the dangers that we're really focused on. But Maria, there's a lot of upside too. And if you got to focus on the dangers, but you've also got to focus on the opportunity. I think it's going to help us cure diseases in amazing ways. I think it's going to lead to a boom in construction jobs. I think we're going to be able to do things that we weren't able to do before. And there might be some disruptions, but fundamentally when it comes to jobs, we ought to be focused on the ways in which AI is going to create great productivity and great new economic opportunities. What I worry about is the focus on the job-destroying effects of AI distract us from the fact that AI could be used to create new surveillance systems, that AI could be used to censor conservatives or other people in new and very scary ways. That's what we're focused on. I think it's the right danger, but also the right opportunity for us to focus on.
And just the final question on China, because nobody does surveillance better than China. What else can the U.S. do to keep China in a box? Because they're undermining us at every turn. Just this week, Senator Tom Cotton sent a letter to Intel about its CEO because it was selling secrets to companies tied to the Chinese military.
Yep.
Is there anything else to be done there that you'd like to discuss?
Well, there is, and this is where it goes back to having a really great FBI director and a really great attorney general, is that when people are stealing America's secrets or stealing our corporate intellectual property and sending it to anywhere, we've got to prosecute that stuff. We know that Chinese companies have been really big offenders when it comes to the theft of American intellectual property. We've got to prosecute that stuff and push back against that stuff. We have to make sure that we don't have people who are spying on American companies, either in our education laboratories or in the companies themselves. But the most important thing that we need to do is we need to protect our own manufacturing. The way that China was able to catch up to us technologically is that they took all of these great manufacturing industries and built a whole technology infrastructure on top of that manufacturing base. We've got to rebuild our own country, rebuild our own innovative capacity. The president has taken huge strides over the past 7 months in making that happen, and building America up is the best way for us to win this competition.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here.
Like the video, like the video. We're going to talk a few hot topics, trending topics right now, and I'll get into probably a little bit later. Kid Cudi is actually speaking up. Kid Cudi speaks out about testifying during the Diddy trial. He says he was there to support Cassie. He was there to support Cassie. Wendy Williams, I guess there's been a medical update. We'll get into more of that later. Hopefully she'll be released, but if they're saying her medical update still upholds her guardian, many people are saying, why can't her family take care of her? Whose decision was it to put her in that facility far away from her family? That's not good. You would think that they want her in the city her family lives, where she can visit her father. And her father can visit her at any time. And then her being able to only call out and people can't call her. Where they do that at? Even hospitals you can call and speak to somebody. So I will definitely dig into the Kid Cudi situation in regards to him testifying. I'm wondering when these files are released, some of these people are probably panicking. Different celebrities are probably panicking. Well-known, well-established people are probably panicking. And, they keep talking about other presidential people should have released it then. Well, they didn't release it. So now it's your turn to release it because you said you were going to get it released. Other stuff is being released. Let's go ahead and release these Epstein files. Okay. So I will probably do more hot topics, trending topics. I'm seeing stuff, but the biggest thing I'll have to cover is Kid Cudi testifying against Diddy, and Kid Cudi just recently got married, so which is cool. Yandy and Mendici speak up about their relationship. A lot going on with Rashida and her family, Kurt and Rashida's family. What really happened that day? So concerning. So concerning. I'm not seeing too much else I want to cover. If I need to do a hot topics, trending topic, more on stuff, I'll do that in the morning. I just wanted to really update you guys on what's going on. I guess Kanye's selling certain items, slides for $20. What do y'all think about the whole Kanye situation? I think Lamar Odom did something with TMZ recently. All that stuff we heard. We heard about Lamar and his situation years ago. The Kardashians are trying to distract and trying to make it seem like, oh, Khloe, if Khloe knew that man was cheating, she should have left him alone before the divorce. He talking about he was having whole relationships on the road. And then how does, what would Rob be like if Rob wasn't close to Khloe? So you got Khloe talking about Lamar. You got Tristan hanging out with the kids. Yeah, Lamar's doing something with TMZ. You got Tristan hanging out with the kids, and allegedly Khloe is helping Tristan. Look how he treated her. Why is she assistant? We get it. It's good to have a good heart, but he disrespected her in so many ways. Some women like to attach themselves to a man, no matter what the cost is. You don't like me, she made it seem like I'm gonna make you like me. It's something else. The Khloe and Lamar situation, Khloe and Tristan situation. Mothers teach their daughters different about healthy relationships. A man should love, adore you, and respect you. Period. Cheating is not loving and adoring you. Real talk. Let me see if there's anything else I want to get into. Yeah, if I need to do more, I'll do more. I guess Kylie just had a birthday. Did Timothy show up, not show up? Are they still together? We don't know. Some say he's filming, but was that a true relationship anyway? If they dated for the 2 years, why wasn't Timothy around her kids? Noticeably around her kids. That's the real conversation. You date someone 2 years and they can't be around your children and we don't see it. It is what it is. Well wishes to the K's and the J's. We want to see healthy relationships from them. And we want to see them do better in regards to situationship. Kim Kanye, concerning. Khloe, Tristan, Lamar, concerning. Kris Jenner and Corey situation concerning Kourtney, Travis Barker, that seems like the healthiest relationship. Is Kim jealous of Kourtney? It don't seem like Kim likes to support Kourtney a lot. Kourtney likes to focus on her husband. Because think about how many of those Kardashians are married. Kourtney likes to focus on her husband and her children, mainly her children. Kourtney loves her family, the family that she spends 24 hours, 7 days a week. She don't like the drama all the time with her sisters, and that's what they love. Her sisters love media attention, clicks, and views. Now, men will date Kendall Kylie. Men will date Kendall Kylie because it don't seem like Kendall Kylie will continuously talk about a guy they broke up. You rarely ever hear Kylie talk about Travis Scott. You rarely ever see it. You rarely ever hear Kendall talking about Devin Booker or the guy she dated. You rarely hear it. But Kim and Khloe love bringing up the exes. And just like with Kanye is with Bianca, Kim often once a month, she wants to be a part of that conversation. Kanye's moved on. Kim should move on and find somebody to date. Khloe needs to move on from Tristan, but she probably won't. I don't know what that is. He must have some good, because wowee. But yeah, that's, I don't really know if I want to go over. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there, you guys. We did about 100, let me see, we did about an hour and 54. There's about 115 in the building, literally. If you haven't hit subscribe, please hit subscribe. If 115 hit subscribe, that would be an amazing day for me. If you didn't already hit subscribe, please hit subscribe. That would be an amazing day for me if all 115 subscribe. And thank you. If you hit the like button, thank you. So, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged in our opinion and for entertainment purposes only. Focus on healthy, safe relationships. Be around people that's loving, kind, and respectful. I hope you guys have an amazing, amazing day. It's already been an amazing morning, busy morning, and it's early. I wasn't trying to pack it in, but all that I needed to take care of has actually been taken care of this morning. So I am grateful that I have got to my list already. You guys, be around people that love and support you. This Rashida and Kurt situation is very concerning. Mothers, talk to your children about being in situations that can put them in jail. Talk to your spouses and children about being in situations that can put them in jail. You got to have conversations. What Kurt and Rashida are going through is very concerning. And everybody's trying to get the story straight of what really happened. Talk to your children about being around good friends. If they're ever in an unsafe situation, take an Uber, Lyft home, or make sure they call you if there's ever a situation where they feel unsafe. We got to protect our loved ones, and we got to be safe even for ourselves. I saw a video of a young lady. This is an interesting thing. I saw a video of a young lady. She was in a Walmart, and a lady was trying to have her purchase a magazine. She started magazines. She touched the magazine cover. It looked kind of ratty. Not even 2 minutes later, she started feeling woozy. Luckily, the lady went to the pharmacy saying, "Hello, I think I touched a substance and I think I'm having a reaction. I'm here by myself. Don't release me to no one." That lady touched that magazine and the young lady was in Walmart. So be careful when you go shopping. Don't touch anything anybody is selling. No, I'm not interested. Put your hands up. Don't touch me. Leave me alone. The security. Are y'all watching this? Y'all seeing this person? And immediately go into Walmart and have that person on camera that there's a concern. These people are so bold that they went into the Walmart, had the woman touch the magazine. She was smart enough to not go to her car. She was smart enough to go to pharmacy and say, "I'm here by myself. I am concerned that I think I touched a substance and I'm having a hard time speaking, walking, and focusing." Thank goodness she did that, because easily a friend could have said, "Oh, this is my friend. I'll take her to emergency." No. Make sure you tell them you're by yourself. There's always somebody in Walmart walking around. Just let them know somebody put something on your hands. You're by yourself. Call the police immediately for me. Later on, that's the biggest concern. Later on, within a 5-minute period, the lady could barely speak. So luckily, she got to pharmacy to tell them she was there by herself and she thinks she touched the substance of someone trying to sell a book. That lady could have easily came in and said, "Oh, this is my friend. Oh, well, let me take her to the hospital." Be careful. If stuff is on your windshield, if stuff is on your car door, if stuff is by your door, they're crafty of wanting you to touch something and they're watching. Be careful as you're going out. Make sure you're going out when it's light out still. If you got to go when it's nighttime, make sure you don't park by no white vans. Make sure if there's a concern, Walmart people will walk you. If you have a concern, call and speak to their concern, to their security. There's always somebody at a security door. Even at Myers, they always have somebody at security. Call and let them know. I'm concerned about this person following me, watching me. I'm concerned about getting in my vehicle. Can you watch me? Can you escort me? Because if they see somebody's with you, they won't do it. And that was a big issue people used to have back in the day anyway. Someone putting something on your windshield, you literally can't touch it. You can't touch it. And then that's the biggest thing. If they put that on your windshield, who to say they didn't put something on your car door? So you really got to be cautious and careful. We don't see a lot of the flyers now on our windshields, but they're doing a lot. They're doing windshields, they're doing inside your door, the slot to grab the handle. So just be cautious and careful. Talk to your young adult children. Be cautious, be careful. I've seen people at Walmart trying to sell magazines. They were outside Walmart, not inside. This woman was bold and she was inside. And then the woman noticed she was texting someone. So whoever she was with, they were probably like, "Yup, she's feeling it. Yup, we'll be walking out," or "Yup, da 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 da." So it's a concern that people are trying to get and take, and they're trying to get crafty. So you go places, someone trying to hand you something, don't take it. I will sometimes see, I've had a man try and hand me like a smiley face thing, and I told him I'm not touching it. He said, "This is a positive thing. I don't care. I don't know who you are. I'm not touching that. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what he looks like, because there could have been a van behind me and I just didn't even notice it. I didn't even notice it. I don't see that person up there now, but you got to be careful what you touch. You got to be careful who you communicate with. And there could easily be somebody behind watching, listening to see if you're going to touch it, grab it, or if you're not that alert. So just be careful, everybody. I was shocked about that woman being inside Walmart trying to have her purchase magazine, and she kind of glanced at it, touched it, and then she said, "No, thank you," handed it back. And then within 5 to 10 minutes, probably 2 to 3 minutes, she was feeling it. And luckily, her first thought was, "Let me get to my car, let me go," and she did not go. She went to the pharmacy, thank goodness. So if you're ever in a situation, get help, seek help, call 911 from your phone. "Hello, I'm in Walmart. This is my location. I'm feeling woozy and I touched something from a person I did not know." Talk with your family. Talk with your family. There's some weird, sick people out here. Talk with your family, call 911, get a police in that building to get you some help and assistance, and let people around you know, don't touch what this person is selling. Don't touch the magazine. I'm having concerns. So I'm glad she spoke up to the pharmacy and let them know that she was by herself and she's having concerns. She was having concerns in speaking. So could you imagine if she didn't tell them that she was by herself? That woman could have easily said, "Oh, this is my friend, da 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 da. I'll take her to emergency," and then she wouldn't have been able to speak. She could have did her hands though. "No, no, no, I don't know you. No, no, X, do the X mark. Don't know you. Get away from me. Shoo, shoo, shoo. X mark. When you can't speak, you got hand signals. Get away from me. Bye. X, I don't know you. Don't know you. Whatever you got to do." So that was an interesting thing. Some families are struggling in regards to finances. The groceries are high. trying to pay bills, car repairs. Get help, seek help, do whatever you can to keep your head above water. I hope everyone has a great day, prosperous day. Sit down, talk with your children. They're going through things too. Mothers and fathers are a little stressed over the bills and trying to make it. Some families are doing well. Some young adults are doing well on TikTok. They're doing well on YouTube. They're doing well on different streaming apps. Just talk to your children to make sure they're healthy in mind, body, soul, and spirit as well. Talk to your people you love. Make great decisions for yourself and speak up. Speak up, speak out. Only handle what you can handle. Don't take on other people's drama and stress. Take care of yourself because they're not going to take care of you. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Take care of your children. Make sure they're a priority. If people are not helping and assisting you, do not go over above to assist and help them. Take care of yourself. I have several situations people would try and stress me out and they wouldn't do anything. Lift a finger to help. Now I've learned to say no, and they've realized go to somebody else. I don't mind helping everyone once in a while, but I used to be the go-to and putting out fires. I used to put out a bunch of situations. Now I have peace, so I'm grateful. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you didn't subscribe, there's about 113 in the building. If you didn't already subscribe, please subscribe. 100 people subscribing right now would be an amazing day for me. I hope you all have subscribed, and thank you. Thank you for hitting the like button. You guys have a great day. Be blessed. Goodbye. Thank you.